So there I was, cooking up a storm like a culinary goddess nobody asked for, but everyone needed. First up, braised yellow croaker fish in soybean paste. This was my signature dish. My masterpiece. My Mona Lisa, but edible. I scored the fish with fancy knife cuts, dusted it with a thin layer of starch, and slid it into hot oil. Fried both sides until golden and crispy. Then I pulled the fish out, tossed in scallions, ginger, garlic, and star anise. Let them sizzle until the whole kitchen smelled like heaven's lobby. In went the bean paste. Stir, stir, stir. Fish back in, water added, low heat for 10 minutes, then blasted on high to reduce the sauce. When that fish came out of the pan, I nearly fainted from the smell. My mouth was a waterfall. I grabbed one fish for myself and shoved the rest into my storage bag for later. First bite? Oh my God, tender, sweet, fragrant, absolutely divine. My happiness meter? Maxed out. My foodie soul was ascending to a higher plane. But I wasn't done. Next, steamed golden pomfret. Gutted, cleaned, scored, stuffed with ginger and scallions, rubbed down with cooking wine and salt. Basically gave this fish a full SPA treatment before steaming it for 10 minutes. Drain the liquid, swapped out the old aromatics for fresh shredded scallions and ginger, drizzled sizzling hot oil over the top, added a splash of soy sauce, and boom. Perfection. I was too stuffed from inhaling the entire yellow croaker to eat this one though. So I moved on to steaming a huge batch of sugar buns and plain steamed buns, so the boys could eat whenever they woke up. Speaking of the boys, Ji Yanfeng and Out Yen were literally woken up by hunger. They stumbled into my courtyard looking like two starving puppies and found me lounging around reading a romance novel. Living my best life. Auntie, we're here. Ji Yanfeng chirped. I said lazily, waving my book. My emotions were all over the place lately. I think I was actually catching feelings.
Ugh.
Outyen looked at me, all jealous. Must be nice having such a cushy life. I waved my novel at him. You bet. Latest edition. The domineering CEO falls for me. Wanna read it? His face did a complete 180. Yes, yes, yes. He snatched it out of my hands before I could blink. All right, boys, dinner time. When they saw the 3 gorgeous dishes on the table, their eyes practically popped out of their skulls.
Pure satisfaction.
There's sugar buns and plain buns. Grab whatever you want. But be careful with the sugar buns. They're filled with hot melted sugar. They'll burn you. Sugar buns? I want one. Outyen had never tried them before. Ji Yanfeng, sweet, thoughtful little dummy, picked up a sugar bun and placed it in my bowl first. Then one for Outyen. Then one for himself. Always thinking of others before himself. My heart went all warm and gooey. This kid was so caring, so emotionally intelligent. But would he still like me if he went back to being normal? His body was healed. There was just that one fragment left in his brain. The key to whether his original personality would resurface. I sighed quietly. He still couldn't tell the difference between family love and romantic love. Those two ate like they hadn't seen food in years. Outyen literally used his steamed bun to wipe the oil off the plates and ate that too. Not a single molecule of flavor left behind. The man had fully adapted to this lifestyle. After dinner, Ji Yanfeng excitedly pulled me aside to tell me everything that happened while I was gone, with Outyen adding commentary. It was warm. It was cozy. It was nice. Later that night, while Outyen was snoring away in his little basket, Ji Yanfeng was lying in bed having a whole internal crisis. See, what I didn't know was that inside Ji Yanfeng's body, there were 2 personalities having a conversation. The original Ji Yanfeng, the one trapped inside, asked the second personality, if someday I disappear, could you give me one day? Just one day to say goodbye to Annie properly. He loved me. Not as family. Not as a friend. Loved me. But what could he offer? He didn't even have his own body. He was basically a tenant in someone else's house, and the landlord was waking up. Meanwhile, the original personality felt conflicted too. He'd watched everything from the inside, how Outyen had been secretly cutting slices of his own flesh to feed the second personality as medicine, like a Buddhist saint sacrificing his body. And all that love, All that sacrifice, it was for the second personality, not for him. He was jealous. He even had dark thoughts about eliminating the second personality and taking over.
But
Just thoughts. He couldn't actually do it. Even if it's just 1 hour. Ji Yanfeng whispered into the darkness. Let me say goodbye. The night grew deep and quiet. Outyen rolled over in his basket, dreaming about his little clam friend. Adorable. The next morning, after breakfast, I headed to the pig farm with Ji Yanfeng. Winter meant less grass-cutting work, so I'd volunteered myself out to give the kids more opportunities. Ji Yanfeng only had 1 more day of work left. That's when Lin Yagua spotted me and gave me a secret look. I knew what that meant. I headed straight to Granny Zhao's place. Lin Yagua walked in a minute later, beaming. Girl, the pearls all sold. I converted everything into our local currency for you. He pulled out several fat rolls of cash from his pocket. The exchange rate worked in our favor. Total comes to 3,500 yuan. Here you go. I nearly choked on air. 3,500? 3,500? That was an insane amount of money. In this era, most people earned maybe 40 or 50 yuan a month. I was holding almost 6 years of an average worker's salary. Granny Xiao didn't even flinch. She knew these pearls were the real deal. Perfect shape, large size, flawless quality. Pearls like that don't just fall out of the sky every day.
well,
Mine kind of did, technically, but nobody needed to know that. I stared at the rolls of cash in my hands, feeling the weight of each bill, and thought, Su Youyou, you beautiful genius. From pig farm worker to secret pearl mogul. What a career arc. So Lin Yagua wasn't done dropping bombs on me. After handing me 3,500 yuan in cash, he pulled out a cloth bag from inside his jacket. This is the deed to my property in the capital.
keep it safe.
I've got more good stuff coming, once my people figure out how to send it over. I nearly fell off my chair.
No.
Absolutely not. I shoved it back at him. You keep this. When you go back someday, you'll need it. He gave me this sad little smile that made my chest hurt. Someday is someday. Without your help right now, this old man won't have a someday. I don't even know how I'm going to survive the present. No point thinking about the future. Granny Xiao jumped in too. Just take it, child. You're constantly sneaking us ginseng and tonics and cooking us special meals. That stuff is worth more than money can buy. I tried to fight them both, but have you ever tried winning an argument against 2 stubborn old people? It's like arm wrestling a wall. You can push all you want, the wall does not move. I gave in and took everything. But in my head, I was already scheming about what goodies I could pull from my secret space to give them back. I wasn't about to profit off people whose daily achievement was just staying alive. Their situation was that rough. Back home, Ji Yanfeng and Outyen were still up on the mountain working. The house was quiet, and the weather was getting cold. You know what cold weather calls for? Milk. I dug out some black tea leaves, brewed them in boiling water for 8 minutes. Found some milk in my storage, plus that honey Ji Yanfeng had risked his entire face to collect from those angry bees. Poor boy's beauty was sacrificed for this honey, and I was going to honor that sacrifice. Strained out the tea leaves, mixed everything together, and took a sip.
Sweet.
Fragrant. Lovely. But also kind of bland compared to the chemical-loaded bubble tea from my old life. I smacked my lips. Turns out I was a creature of science and processed ingredients. Natural and wholesome was nice and all, but my taste buds missed those artificial flavors. I was truly a child of modern civilization. I plopped into my rocking chair like a professional couch potato and lay there being a salted fish, which is Chinese internet speak for, doing absolutely nothing and loving it, but my brain wouldn't shut up. I kept going back and forth. Should I go visit Annie Chen Guixiang? Because there was a situation brewing. See, Ji Yanfeng and Outyen had recently stumbled across Wang Chunmiao, my big uncle's wife, having a secret affair in the mountains. And they discovered that the little girl living in the house wasn't uncle's biological daughter. She was the affair baby. The question was, should I be the one to expose this? Of course you have to be the one. A voice suddenly blasted inside my head. The merit tree. My spiritual advisor slash ancient tree deity slash occasional life coach who appeared and disappeared like a Wi-Fi signal in a tunnel. Could you please announce yourself before popping up? I rolled my eyes so hard I nearly saw my own brain. You scared me half to death, the merit tree. Squeak. Me. This is simple, the tree continued. Wang Chunmiao's ex-husband is a descendant of Japanese invaders. What? That's your 90% hint. Figure out the rest yourself. My whole body went rigid. Japanese invader descendant. Secret meetings. The mysterious underground passage in the back mountain. The pieces were clicking together like a very disturbing puzzle. I know what to do, I declared. The merit tree sounded pleased. Ahem. Good student. Very teachable. But not right now. The tree went silent. You could practically hear the frustration. I'm planning to go into the mountains on the 15th of next month, I explained. Outyen and Ji Yanfeng overheard that Wang Chunmiao's ex-husband is busy with important business and won't come back to see her until the 17th. If he really is connected to enemy descendants and the secret underground base in the back mountain. I need to investigate the base before he returns. The merit tree thought about this for a moment, probably marveling at the fact that humans had so many schemes and calculations unlike trees, who were just honest and straightforward and didn't plot against each other.
Fine.
Be careful. Call me if you need me. And PLF gone. Like it was never there. I was used to its ghostly appearances by now. Show up unannounced. Drop a life-altering revelation. Vanish. Standard tree behavior. Anyway, I still needed to visit Annie Chen Guixiang. I packed up some milk tea, 3 bags of milk powder, and 3 bags of milk tablets, loaded them in a little basket, and headed over. Uncle Qing Shu wasn't home. He'd gone to settle accounts at the commune for yesterday's seafood haul. The 2 sisters-in-law had taken the kids to go beach scavenging. Just Auntie Chen Guixiang, sitting at home alone. Auntie, 1 bag each for you and the 2 brothers. Split them up. She knew me well enough by now to know that arguing was useless. I was as stubborn as she was. But her face did that thing where she was happy and worried at the same time. Happy I thought of her. Worried I was giving away all my stuff. My brother in the capital sent these. Didn't cost me anything, I reassured her. Then I suddenly realized I'd been in this world for how long now and I'd barely spent any money? When did currency become so irrelevant to my life? Oh right, when you've got 3,500 yuan in cash and a magical storage space full of food and supplies, small expenses feel like individual hairs on a cow. Technically there, but who's counting? You left early yesterday. Andy settled in with the milk tea I'd brought. I was going to come gossip with you tomorrow. This woman loved gossiping with me. Not in a mean way. She just said I was the best conversation partner because I always picked up what she was putting down. Never let an awkward silence land. Full engagement, maximum energy. Basically, I was her emotional support gossip buddy. She told me what happened after I left yesterday. Uncle Qingshan, the useless one, had signed up for beach scavenging work but gave up after 30 minutes because his back hurt. The man was 50, but looked 70. He'd worn himself out over the years, spending every penny on his scheming wife, his affair baby daughter, and his good-for-nothing son who spent all day wandering around the commune doing nothing and coming home only when he needed money. When he couldn't work anymore, he tried to make his 2 real sons do a shift and give him the work points. The scorekeeper took one look at that nonsense and ran straight to Uncle Qingshu to report it. Meanwhile, Qingshan went crying to his sons, playing the victim card. The sons didn't fall for it. He was about to start cussing them out when big Uncle Qingshu showed up and Qingshan shut his mouth real fast. Old bones can't handle beatings like they used to. Qingshu sent someone to drag Wang Chunmiao over. She showed up eventually, dressed in red and green like a walking traffic light, swaying her hips with every step. Every woman in the village was silently spitting in her direction. Qingshu gave her 2 options. Take your husband home, or do his work for him. Wang Chunmiao wanted neither. Her delicate princess hands weren't made for dirty labor. Thank you very much. And her husband was becoming more useless by the day. What was even the point of him? Then her eyes did that shifty little spin, the universal sign for scheming in progress. She whispered something to Qingshan through a handkerchief, because apparently touching him directly was beneath her, and he suddenly perked up and marched off happily. What do you think she's plotting now? Auntie asked me, looking annoyed. I had no idea. Strategy? Plotting?
Scheming?
That was not my department. Give me a fight to win?
Sure.
Give me a puzzle to solve? My brain hemorrhages. Every time I tried to think strategically, my mental health bar dropped. But combining everything, Outyan and Ji Yanfeng's intel, the Merit Tree's bombshell about the ex-husband being an enemy descendant, and Auntie's stories about Wang Chunyao, I was becoming more and more certain. This woman knew exactly who her ex-husband was and what he was up to. Auntie and I stared at each other for a long moment. Two simple-brained creatures trying to outthink a fox. We came up with nothing. Absolutely nothing. Two brain cells between us, and they were both on vacation. Why isn't your uncle back yet? Auntie Chen Guixiang was pacing by the window, watching the sky get darker and darker. Full worried wife energy. He's probably on his way. There's a whole group of them. He'll be fine. I tried to sound reassuring, but honestly, I was starting to wonder too. What we didn't know was that the man she was worried about was currently parading around like a peacock, showing off to Lu Detian, the village chief of Shilling Village, and had completely lost track of time. I stayed until past 5. Sky went dark. Still no Uncle Qingshu. Annie was getting really anxious now. He was supposed to bring back a big payment from the seafood sales, and she was terrified someone might rob him on the road. Valid concern. Carrying cash in the countryside at night was basically waving a sign that said, "Free money here." That's when Ji Yanfeng showed up at the door. He'd gone home, found the house empty, spotted the note I'd left on the table, and came running to find me like a loyal golden retriever who'd lost his owner. I told Annie to stay put, Ji Yanfeng, and I would go meet Uncle at the village entrance. Stay at the village entrance, she called after us. Do not leave the village. It's not safe for Yanfeng out there, right? His identity situation.
I can't forget that.
As we left, I could hear her muttering behind us about her sons and daughters-in-law never being around when you needed them. Should have given birth to roast pork instead. The ultimate Chinese mom insult. Nobody was spared. Ji Yanfeng and I waited in the cave at the village entrance. After a while, we heard the jingle of cow bells in the distance. 2 ox carts approaching. When I could finally make out the people on them, I let out a massive sigh of relief. Uncle was alive and unrobbed. He saw us standing there and looked confused. What are you two doing out here? It's dinner time. Why aren't you home on the warm bed? Is this a date? I did not catch that last thought, thankfully, and rushed forward. Uncle, you're finally back. Annie's been worried sick. She sent us to check on you. Ji Yanfeng nodded enthusiastically. Grandma was so anxious she was ready to start hitting people. Uncle slapped his own forehead. Oh no. He'd been so busy showing off to Lu Detian that he'd forgotten the time. And his wife's fists were not gentle. I'm going home right now. Son Qingshi, you are not going anywhere. Lu Detian grabbed him before he could jump off the cart. My pigs. 30 fat pigs. They're sick. You promised to help. Uncle froze.
Right.
The pigs. He'd forgotten about Lu Detian entirely. Kids, go tell your auntie I'm fine. Shilling Village's pigs are sick. I need to take Zhao Jian to help. I'll be back later. Lu Detian didn't even wait for Uncle to finish talking. He snatched the reins, cracked the whip, and the ox cart rumbled off into the darkness with Uncle still half standing on it. I made a mental note to check on Zhao Jian later. Hopefully, he could handle 30 sick pigs without backup. Auntie, it's dark out.
The path is hard to see.
Let me lead you. And then, very naturally, very casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world, Ji Yanfeng took my hand. I was pulled out of my thoughts. His hand was big, warm, and dry against mine. I looked down at our intertwined fingers, then up at him. He was smiling. Not his usual innocent smile. This one was different.
Shy.
Hopeful. His eyes curved into little crescent moons. Something shifted inside me, like a locked door clicking open. You know what? I was tired of fighting this. Tired of overthinking. Tired of running from whatever was happening between us. I squeezed his hand back. His whole body jolted. I felt his fingers tighten around mine, and the joy radiating off him was so intense it was practically visible, like a human-shaped sun. Does, Auntie, like me? Even a little bit? Even just a tiny, tiny bit? The moonlight was impossibly bright that night. It lit up the path ahead, and cheesy as it sounds, it also lit up something inside my heart. Years later, I'd still remember this walk. The beautiful night sky. The warm hand holding mine. The quiet happiness of just being together. As we approached Annie's house, we both let go at the exact same time. No discussion needed. Some things are understood without words. I told Auntie that Uncle was fine and had gone to save some pigs. She finally stopped pacing and relaxed. When we got home, Youyou was there, pacing around with his little arms behind his back like a tiny worried grandparent. The second he saw us, he launched himself forward. I thought you two got lost. Why were you gone so long? Do you have any idea how worried I was? I was abandoned. Left behind. A stay-at-home clam. My heart swelled up so big, I thought it would burst. This ridiculous, dramatic, wonderful little creature. He was worried about me. About us. I bent down, scooped him up, and planted a big kiss right on his shell. I hear you, Manager Clam. I won't do it again. Youyou's shell turned bright red, like actually physically changed color. Full body blush on a clam. You. I smiled at him, feeling all warm and mushy inside.
Thank you, Youyou.
You make me feel what it's like to have family. To be loved. His embarrassment melted instantly. He puffed out his tiny chest proudly. We are family. A family of 3. Behind us, Ji Yanfeng's expression went
cold.
He'd been floating on cloud 9 from holding my hand. And then I kissed Youyou. On his shell. Right in front of him. Why did Auntie kiss Youyou?
But not me?
The thought was dark, possessive, and growing. But then smooch. Youyou grabbed Ji Yanfeng's face with his tiny clam appendages and planted a big, wet, slobbery kiss on him. Full face coverage. Maximum saliva. We're family, dummy. I love you too. Just as much as I love my little clam baby. The ice in Ji Yanfeng's eyes started to melt.
Slowly.
Like spring thaw. He looked at Youyou, this absurd, affectionate, shell-blushing little goofball, and something warm returned to his gaze. He leaned down and gently kissed Youyou back. Family forever. But Auntie and I are husband and wife, he added silently. You're our beloved family member. Different categories. Okay, enough feelings. I clapped my hands. Dinner time. Let's go. Youyou scurried after me, chattering non-stop. Yes.
I'm starving.
And I'm telling you right now, never leave me as a stay-at-home clam again. Waiting is terrible. The anxiety. Ji Yanfeng followed behind us.
Quiet.
Watching. His eyes locked onto my back with an intensity that wasn't there before.
Dark.
Focused. Like a predator tracking prey. I felt something. A prickle on the back of my neck. A weird pressure in the air. I turned around quickly and met Ji Yanfeng's big, innocent, puppy dog eyes blinking at me. What's wrong, Auntie? I shook my head. Must be tired. Imagining things. Haven't been sleeping well lately. Nothing. Come on, wash your hands, dinner time. Coming, he bounded over in 2 steps, his tall frame making me look tiny beside him. But the weird feeling didn't go away. Something was off. A subtle pressure, like standing too close to something dangerous. I couldn't put my finger on it. I quietly slipped away into my storage space, pretending to look for snacks. Youyou scratched his head. She's that hungry? Forgot to bring us in with her. Ji Yanfeng said nothing. His eyes went dark again.
She was running from me.
He knew. He felt it. Deep inside his mind, the original personality suddenly spoke up. Stop. Whatever you're thinking right now, stop it. Ji Yanfeng paused, surprised. You can read my thoughts. Oh boy. 2 personalities, 1 body, and the backup driver had just noticed the main driver was heading for a cliff. This was getting dangerous. And I had no idea just how dangerous. Ji Yanfeng didn't even look up from his food. Just nodded happily. Auntie, just keep the money. You don't need to tell me about it. My heart did a weird little flutter. This boy just casually told me to keep 3,500 yuan without a second thought.
Like it was pocket change.
Like he trusted me with his life. I pushed down the warm, fuzzy feeling and moved on. I'm going to the commune today, picking up packages and mailing some. Back by afternoon, Youyou ripped his face out of his food bowl like a diver surfacing for air. I want to go. I've never been to the commune. Take me, take me, take me. Absolutely not. I shut that down immediately. It's crowded out there. You'd just be stuck in the basket seeing nothing. And honestly, I'm afraid if I take you out, I might not bring you back. The streets were crawling with red guards these days. Taking a talking clam to a public commune was basically asking for trouble. One wrong word from Youyou, and we'd both be in a political re-education camp. Youyou deflated instantly.
Fine.
I'll stay home with Dummy. Ji Yanfeng's eyes went dim for a second. He knew he couldn't go outside either. His identity made it too dangerous. But he didn't say anything. Didn't want to be a burden. After breakfast, he cleaned the kitchen while I strapped on my basket. The two of them stood at the door like a pair of abandoned puppies watching their owner leave for work. Auntie, come home early. Ji Yanfeng waved, trying to smile. I turned back and grinned. I will. Now go inside, you two. I kept walking. When I glanced back one last time, Ji Yanfeng was still standing there, watching. Motionless. Until I disappeared around the bend. What I didn't see was what happened after. The warmth drained from his face like someone pulled a plug. Cold energy radiated off him like a freezer with the door open. Youyou had gotten used to these mood swings by now. He just flopped over in the basket and went limp. Here we go again. At the village entrance, the ox cart hadn't arrived yet. Two aunties I didn't recognize were waiting, plus Zhou Hongjun and Jianghua from the educated youth camp. I smiled and nodded at the aunties. Standard friendly neighbor protocol. Jianghua waved at me with his big, toothy grin.
Gamratsu.
Long time no see. Just bad timing. We keep missing each other, I said pleasantly. Zhou Hongjun, Mr. Intense Eyes himself, spoke in what he probably thought was a warm tone. Comrade Su, if you ever need help with anything, come. Find us at the youth camp. Sure. I looked up at him and immediately remembered that night when his eyes had looked absolutely terrifying. Like a wolf evaluating prey. I ducked my head down fast. Zhou Hongjun internally. Am I really that scary looking? Jianghua giving him side-eye. Dude. Stop looking like you're about to murder someone. You're scaring her. Zhou Hongjun internally. I was being so friendly just now. Jianghua mentally rolling his eyes into orbit. Your self-awareness needs professional help. What I didn't know was that Zhou Hongjun and Jianghua had recently visited their parents and discovered that I'd helped Zhou Hongjun's mother. He wanted to thank me, but couldn't without blowing his secret identity. Classic spy problems. He shot Jianghua a meaningful look. This is your fault somehow. Jianghua blurted out loud. Who's an idiot? Then immediately regretted it. Everyone me. The two aunties all turned and stared at him with identical, what just happened, expressions. Zhou Hongjun buried his face in his hand. Another day of pretending I don't know this moron. One bumpy hour later, we reached the commune. I paid the cart driver, said goodbye to Grandpa Sun Dellen, and headed for the post office.
Jianghua caught up to me. Gamratsu.
Where are you headed? Post office. You? Supply store. Okay, bye. And the two of them vanished like they'd been shot out of a cannon. I watched them disappear and smirked. Supply store.
Sure.
Did they think I was stupid? My spiritual spring water had been upgrading my senses for weeks. My eyes were sharp. My ears were superhuman. And I'd clearly noticed their baskets were suspiciously heavy. They were going to the black market, obviously. But hey, they were doing it to support their families. I respected the hustle. I just pretended I didn't notice and walked the other direction. Near the post office, I ducked into an alley, checked for witnesses, and pulled the second package out of my storage space. Can't have people seeing me produce parcels from thin air. Inside the post office, I handed over my ID and collected my incoming packages. 2 massive parcels plus 2 money orders. One for 1,000 yuan, one for 100. The postal worker's eyes nearly popped out of his skull. That was more money and goods than most people in this town saw in a year. I hadn't expected Xiang Tian to send me such a huge package, and money made me feel like maybe my care packages were a bit stingy. I quickly snuck 2 extra bags of milk powder, 2 bags of brown sugar, and 2 pounds of dried pork into Xiang Tian's outgoing package when nobody was looking. My basket was now heavy enough to count as weight training. Everything else would have to wait for next time. The basket literally had no more room. I set down my received packages and approached the counter with my outgoing mail. "Comrade, I need to mail 2 packages. 2 forms, please." The postal worker, Zhang Fugue, smiled and helped me with exaggerated friendliness. Then he glanced at my itemized list, and I caught it, a flash of greed in his eyes. Quick as lightning, but I saw it. My spider senses were tingling. I processed everything, started to walk away, then stopped and turned back. Very casually. "Oh, comrade, these packages contain valuable items. They won't go missing, will they?" Zhang Fugue straightened up, all professional. "Comrade, we are experts here." "Of course you are," I smiled sweetly. "That's why I pre-wrote detailed inventories of everything inside. The recipients will check every item against the list when they open them." His smile flickered. I leaned in just a tiny bit. "1 package is going to a friend in the military. The other is going to a friend in government. Both are servants of the people, you know." "Thank you so much for your hard work, comrade." Zhang Fugue's face went from friendly pink to ghost white in about 0.3 seconds. Military, government, itemized lists, recipients who would check. Message received, touch my packages, and you're dealing with people who carry guns and write laws. I smiled one last time, turned around and walked out. Mission accomplished. What happened after I left? Apparently Zhang Fugue dug for my forms, verified the addresses were exactly as I described, and then slammed them on his desk in frustration. HMF, he'd been planning to skim a few items for himself. The man regularly stole from people's packages, a little here, a little there, protected by his brother-in-law's connections. But this package? Military recipient, government recipient, pre-written inventory. A sender who'd looked him dead in the eyes and basically said, "I dare you, PTOO." He stormed off, furious at having wasted his charm on a target he couldn't rob. His co-workers watched him go with undisguised contempt. This pig-brained thief finally met someone he couldn't steal from.
Good.
I didn't know any of this drama, of course. All I knew was that when I'd been picking up my packages, I'd felt a wave of greedy malice rolling off Zhang Fugue like cheap cologne. Years of reading web novels had taught me one thing. Postal workers in period stories always steal from packages. Always. It was practically a genre requirement. So I'd handled it the Youyou way. Smile pretty, drop hints like bombs, and walk away while they sweat. You want to steal from me? Go ahead. My friends carry rifles and write policies. Your move, buddy. Oh, and before I left the post office, I'd slipped a special talisman into each package. A little gift from my buddy Fan Ge, basically a magical booby trap. If anyone other than the intended recipient opened the package, the talisman would deliver a very unpleasant surprise. Think of it as ancient Chinese anti-theft technology. Way better than a tracking number. Note to self, ask Fan Ge for more talismans next time. Maybe some peace and safety charms too. Those would be useful. A girl can never have too many magical security systems. I was walking along, happily daydreaming about my talisman shopping list, when I spotted 2 familiar faces, Officer Mao Qianhan and his partner Jiang Qinggong. "Hey, Officer Mao. Comrade Jiang. Have you eaten yet?" Standard Chinese greeting. Works in any century. Mao Qianhan had been speed-walking somewhere with a very serious expression, Jiang Qinggong trotting behind him like an eager puppy. They both stopped when they saw me. "Comrade Su," Mao Qianhan looked down at me. The man was tall and paused. Something flickered in his eyes. Was it my imagination, or had he just checked me out? "How come you're alone again?" Jiang Qinggong literally circled me like an excited husky inspecting a new toy. Yep, I thought. He's gotten even more like a golden retriever since last time. "What's with the long faces?" I asked. They both looked like someone had canceled Christmas. Oh man, you have no idea. Jiang Qinggong started, then caught himself. He turned to Mao Qianhan. Boss, can I tell her? Mao Qianhan gave him a withering look. At this point, literally everyone in the commune knows except the chickens. Perfect. Jiang Qinggong launched into the story with the enthusiasm of a true gossip professional.
So,
There was this village nearby called Qianjin Village. 2 families, over 30 people total, were all in the hospital.
poisoned.
And the culprit? A woman named Wu Xiaohua, the family's own daughter, who had supposedly eloped with some mountain man 5 years ago. Here's the backstory. 5 years back, Wu Xiaohua fell for a guy who lived in the mountains. Her family said no. She ran off with him anyway. The very next day, her father stood up in front of the whole village and publicly disowned her. She's dead to me. I have no daughter. Classic countryside family drama. Nothing unusual so far. Then 5 years later, she came back. But she didn't come back looking like a woman who'd been living a happy mountain romance. Oh no. She came back looking like death itself. Picture this. The village aunties are sitting at the village entrance, gossiping as usual. They see a figure approaching, walking unsteadily, clothes torn to shreds, moving like a ghost in a horror movie.
Who are you?
What do you want? They called out. The figure stopped, raised her head, and called each auntie by name, one by one. Auntie Zhang,
Auntie Ali.
Auntie Chen, Grandma Lu. They looked closer and nearly fainted. Wu Xiaohua. But not the Wu Xiaohua they remembered, the girl who'd been cute and fresh-faced 5 years ago. This Wu Xiaohua had cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass, hollow sunken eyes, cracked bleeding lips, and a body so thin she was basically a skeleton wearing skin. She looked like she'd crawled out of a grave. The aunties shuffled awkwardly. Such a pretty girl you were. Why'd you have to go and elope? Look at you now. Your parents weren't great, but they would have found you a match. What was the point of running away? Wu Xiaohua slowly raised her head. Her eyes were almost entirely black, barely any white visible. When she spoke, her voice was raw sandpaper. They told you. I eloped. The temperature around the aunties dropped about 10 degrees. Goosebumps everywhere. Something about this girl was deeply, fundamentally wrong.
Igreja.
The day after you left, your dad announced it at the village meeting. Ha ha ha. Wu Xiaohua laughed. But it wasn't a real laugh. It was the kind of laugh that makes you want to lock your doors and never go outside again. Tears streamed down her skeletal face.
Good. That's
really good. Her father showed up moments later, out of breath from running. When he saw Wu Xiaohua, terror flashed across his face, just for an instant, before he covered it up. Wu Xiaohua caught it. She saw everything. She smiled bitterly as her father grabbed her arm and dragged her home. Jiang Qinggong paused the story here, because nobody knew what happened inside that house after the door closed. What they did know, that same evening, both the Wu family and the Qin family, Wu Xiaohua's maternal grandmother's clan, gathered at the Wu house for a big family dinner. This was unprecedented. Both families were legendary tightwads, the kind of people who'd scrape iron shavings off a rooster as it walked past. Them sharing a meal voluntarily? The village was baffled. Nobody from the Qin family left that night. Villagers assumed they'd just stayed over. Weird, but okay. The next morning, the nosy neighbors gathered near the Wu house, hoping for drama. Around 9 a.m., Wu Xiaohua walked out the front gate. She was wearing the same rags from yesterday, but washed. Her hair was neatly combed. Her gaunt face had rouge on the cheeks and lipstick on the lips. She was smiling, radiantly, like a bride on her wedding day. In broad daylight, surrounded by a crowd, every single person broke into a cold sweat. Because that smile, on that skeletal painted face, was the single most terrifying thing any of them had ever seen. Xiaohua, where is everyone? How come you're alone? One brave soul managed to ask. Wu Xiaohua tilted her head at an angle that no normal person tilts their head. Her smile widened. Oh, them? They're all dead. Several children who witnessed this reportedly had nightmares for weeks. The few villagers brave enough to go inside came running back out, hands clamped over their mouths. Wu Xiaohua had poisoned the entire dinner, Both families. Over 30 people. She'd taken poison herself afterward. She was in the hospital, barely alive. Most of the Wu and Qin family members were dead. The only survivors were a few daughters-in-law, women who'd married into those families, not blood relatives. Jiang Qinggong shook his head. What a monster. She runs off with some man. Life doesn't work out. So she comes back and murders her whole family. Mao Qianhan shot him a look. Is this how I taught you to investigate? Can you please use your brain for once? Jiang Qinggong shrank into his collar like a scolded turtle. I nodded firmly. You can't judge a situation until you know the full story. Why did her father look terrified when he saw her? Why did she react with such bitter hatred when she learned her family told everyone she'd eloped? What actually happened to her in those 5 years? Something told me this wasn't a simple story of a runaway daughter gone crazy. This was something much darker. Mao Qianhan gave me an approving look, and something else in those eyes that I chose to absolutely not analyze right now. Wait, I said suddenly. Did you say her name is Wu Xiaohua? Yeah, why? You know her. Jiang Qinggong perked up. Maybe. I ran into a girl in the mountains a while back. Skin and bones barely alive. She said her name was Wu Xiaohua too. Mao Qianhan and Jiang Qinggong exchanged a sharp look. This could be the key to the whole case. Nobody knew where Wu Xiaohua had been, or how she'd gotten back. Comrade Su, are you free right now? Mao Qianhan looked at me with intense seriousness. I need you to come to the hospital and identify her. We need to know if it's the same person. Yes, please. Jiang Qinggong was practically vibrating. Help us out. Please. Honestly, I wanted to go see for myself too. Because my gut was telling me that whatever happened to Wu Xiaohua, she wasn't the villain of this story. She was the victim who finally snapped. Comrade Su, take a look. Is this the person you met? Officer Mao led me to a hospital room door and pointed at the girl lying in the bed. Pale as paper, barely alive. I leaned forward, and our eyes met through the doorway.
Wu Xiaohua.
She'd already told the police everything they needed for conviction. I poisoned them all. It was me. One sentence. Then silence. She refused to answer a single question after that. Wouldn't speak. Wouldn't react. Wouldn't even blink at the officers. But when her eyes found mine, something shifted. A flicker of recognition. Of warmth? The officer guarding her noticed immediately and turned to see what she was looking at. His boss. And me. It seems she knows you, Mao Qianhan said quietly. Then he looked at me with those serious, pleading eyes. Comrade Su, could you go in and talk to her? Please. Jiang Qinggong pressed his palms together like he was praying. Please, Comrade Su. You're our only hope. I'll try, I said. But we literally met one time. Don't get your hopes up. Whatever happens, we're grateful, Mao Qianhan promised, then waved the guard out of the room. I walked in alone and closed the door behind me.
Boss.
She closed the door. The guard panicked and reached for the handle. Jiang Qinggong grabbed his arm and shook his head. Mao Qianhan said nothing, just watched. Jiang Qinggong quietly cracked the door open just a sliver. I sat down on the stool beside her bed. Hey, Xiaohua. She tried to smile. It was the saddest attempt at a smile I'd ever seen. That meat bun you gave me last time, she whispered. It was the most delicious thing I've ever eaten in my entire life. My chest tightened. I told myself that day, someday I'd repay you. She struggled to sit up. I rushed to help her, supporting her thin frame, so light it felt like holding a bundle of dry branches. Thank you. I don't have anything to repay you with now. But you came with the police, so you must want the truth. They're my friends, I said carefully. They mentioned a girl named Wu Xiaohua. I didn't know if it was the same one I'd met. The girl I met was. She looked like she'd been through hell. But she was strong. Wu Xiaohua laughed.
Soft.
Hollow. A sound squeezed from the deepest, most broken part of her soul. If only I'd met you sooner. Let me tell you my story. And she did. Wu Xiaohua was born into a family that worshipped sons and treated daughters like livestock. Her father was an only child, obsessed with producing a male heir. Her mother gave birth to 6 daughters before finally having a boy. Wu Xiaohua was number 5. She knew from the beginning. Every single one of her sisters existed for one purpose, to be sold so her brother could have a better life. When she was 6, her eldest sister, just 15 years old, was married off to a butcher from the next town over. A butcher who was older than their grandmother. The price? 5 pounds of pork, because her little brother wanted to eat meat. Her grandmother and father said big sister was going to live the good life. Meat every day. 3 months later, big sister was beaten to death by the butcher. She'd been pregnant. 6-year-old Xiaohua couldn't understand. If this was the good life, why didn't grandma and dad go live it themselves? The butcher came to complain that their daughter was too fragile, died after just a few hits. After some negotiation with grandma, the second sister was sent in her place. Second sister cost 6 pounds of pork, 1 pound more than the first. Because she was 13, young, fresh, a better deal, worth 1 extra pound. From that moment, Xiaohua understood. In her family's eyes, the sisters were no different from the chickens and ducks in the yard. Livestock to be traded. When she was 11, grandma brought a man home. He inspected her fourth sister like buying cattle, checked her teeth, pressed some kind of tube against her body, one end on his ear, the other roaming over her sister's body, violating her dignity, like she was a piece of meat at market. Fourth sister sold for 50 yuan, more than the first 3 combined. Grandma was thrilled. She shoved little Xiaohua in front of the man. Want this one too? The man looked her up and down. Too skinny. Pass. Grandma and dad were disappointed but not defeated. After whispering with the man at the door, they came back smiling. After that, Xiaohua's meals got slightly better. Not enough to be full, but more than before. And grandma and dad started looking at her differently, evaluating, measuring. Their eyes were wet and sticky and made her skin crawl. She knew her turn was coming. Then one night, she fell into an impossibly deep sleep. Her body felt like it was floating on the ocean, rising and falling, tossing and turning. When she woke up, she wasn't home anymore. She was in a broken-down building. Children lay everywhere, sprawled, unconscious, piled together. She was on an island. She didn't know its name. The people guarding them spoke a language she didn't understand.
But she recognized it.
The one thing she'd looked forward to every year was the outdoor movie screening at the village entrance. War films. Japanese soldiers screaming commands. Baka, Hai. She knew that language. These were the descendants of the enemy. Every day on that island, she heard screaming. Every day, she saw small bodies carried out. Children her age, dumped into the sea like garbage. She didn't understand where the screaming came from, until one day, it came from her. Hands and feet bound. Unknown liquids forced down her throat. Pain beyond anything the human body should endure. Death would have been a mercy. Every time she woke up, she thought, I survived another day. She was tough. Tougher than the others. She survived round after round of experiments. The old man running the experiments said something in Japanese. A translator told her, You're lucky. Go work in the kitchen for a few years. When you're older and your body's fully developed, we'll continue. She lived. Temporarily. Until she turned 18. They dragged her back to the table. Wu Xiaohua lifted her shirt. A scar. Ugly, jagged, carved into her body, like a signature from hell. They took one of my kidneys. I couldn't speak. I tried. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. I'd grown up in a peaceful world. I knew history was painful. I'd read about it, studied it, watched documentaries. But I'd never faced it like this. Never sat across from someone who carried the evidence on her body. It must have hurt so much. I finally managed. My hands were trembling as I reached out and gently touched that terrible scar. Hurt, she laughed, or tried to. Heh. And then the dam broke. Tears she hadn't cried in years, maybe ever, came flooding out. She sobbed and spoke at the same time, words tumbling over each other. It hurt so much. Nobody had ever asked her if it hurt. In her entire life. Not once. Not a single person had ever looked at her wounds and simply said, That must have been painful. I wrapped my arms around her and held her. Gently. Like holding something precious and infinitely fragile. I patted her back softly while she cried into my shoulder. And Wu Xiaohua thought, my life was worth something after all. Right before the end, someone showed me kindness. That's enough. That's enough. I held her for a long time. Outside the cracked door, I didn't know that Mao Qianhan had turned away, jaw clenched. That Jiang Qinggong had gone completely silent for the first time in his life. That the guard had pressed his back against the wall and was staring at the ceiling, blinking too fast. Some stories don't need a funny ending. Some stories just need someone to listen. And today that someone was me. Wu Xiaohua kept talking, and every sentence hit me like a truck. I only figured out what that island really was when I got older. It was full of enemy spies and descendants of Japanese invaders. They were using our people on our soil for secret experiments, hiding like rats in the shadows, planning their revenge, building their sick little operation right under everyone's noses. Her eyes went distant. Then a strange, sharp smile crossed her face. Funny thing is, they never imagined their own lab rat would be the one to kill them all. Huh? That low, cold, broken, triumphant, and devastated at the same time. I held her tighter, patted her back, didn't let go. She stared out the window at the leaves swaying in the wind. Her voice went soft and far away. When the pain was unbearable, I used to wish I was a tree. Or a flower like my name. Something without thoughts. Without feelings. Something that couldn't hurt. That's when the door burst open. How did you escape? Jiang Qinggong stood there, eyes red and puffy, having clearly been crying behind that door the entire time. Mao Qianhan was right behind him, composed but tight-jawed. Wu Xiaohua barely reacted to their entrance. She didn't care that they'd been eavesdropping through a crack in the door. What did privacy matter to someone who'd already decided to die?
Oh.
I poisoned them all. Jiang Qinggong and Officer Li Fei both gasped at the same time, like a synchronized shock duo. Even I was stunned. This girl had single-handedly wiped out an entire island of enemy operatives. Li Fei shook his head in disbelief.
Impossible.
If you were capable of that, how were you trapped for so many years? Mao Qianhan was the only person in the room who didn't look surprised. That man operated on a different frequency. His life philosophy was clearly, never underestimate anyone. Wu Xiaohua looked at them with dead flat eyes. The island had a rat problem. They did pest control several times a year. I'd been there long enough, cooking for them every day, being obedient. They stopped watching me. During the last round of rat extermination, I secretly hid one packet of rat poison, poured it into the rice storage and the water supply, filled the empty poison packet with similar-looking powder, and put it back so nobody would notice, before any of them could figure out what happened. They were gone. The water cistern supplied the entire island. I cooked their meals with poisoned rice and poisoned water. She stared directly at Li Fei and Jiang Qinggong, those black, bottomless eyes boring into them. Then she smiled. How many lives do you think they'd need to survive that? Li Fei and Jiang Qinggong grabbed each other like two kids in a haunted house. They looked at the ceiling, looked at the floor, looked at me, looked at literally anything that wasn't Wu Xiaohua's terrifying smile. Mao Qianhan, unshaken as always, stepped forward. Comrade Wu Xiaohua, the island you described, can you tell us its location? Xiaohua lowered her eyes. Her lashes cast shadows across her gaunt cheeks, hiding everything behind them. She knew what he wanted. The island's location meant the authorities could investigate, root out any remaining enemy operations. A matter of national security. But she didn't answer him. See, in all her years of suffering, she'd fantasized endlessly about someone, anyone, reaching down into her darkness and pulling her out. Nobody ever came. Until me. A stranger with a meat bun and a kind word. My small act of kindness had been the only light she'd seen in years of pitch black. And her own kindness? Long dead, replaced by something cold and pragmatic. She'd learned the hardest lesson. The deepest mercy is allowing yourself to stop being merciful. Other people's lives and deaths. Not her problem anymore. She didn't owe anyone anything. Except one person. She looked past Mao Qianhan. Looked at me. Do you want me to tell them? My brain crashed. Full blue screen. I did not understand what was happening. She blinked at me with this tiny, barely their smile. Like she found my confusion adorable. Then she reached out with her thin, rough hand and gently pinched my cheek. Pinched
My cheek.
Apparently she'd wanted to do that since we first met. This girl, mass poisoner, escaped lab subject, angel of vengeance, had been harboring a secret desire to squish my face. I stood there like a buffering video, wide-eyed, mouth open, brain loading at 0%. She chuckled softly at my expression, then turned to Mao Qianhan. I'll tell you, but I'll only tell you. And the credit goes to her. I opened my mouth to say, no thanks, I don't need, but her hand clamped down on mine like a vice. Those skeletal fingers had a lot more strength than they looked. Nobody in the room saw that coming. Not Jiang Qinggong. Not Li Fei. Not even me. Mao Qianhan's eyes narrowed slightly. A ghost of a smile appeared on his lips. She has something to live for. That's good. I'm the lead on this case. I'll make sure Comrade Youyou receives official commendation. But can you please tell us now? This is urgent. Xiahua didn't budge. Bring me the paperwork first. Then I'll talk. Are you serious right now? Jiang Qinggong was practically jumping up and down. We're not going to lie to you. When our boss makes a promise, he keeps it. Promises? Xiaohua's voice went ice cold. Promises are the most worthless thing in the world. Li Fei tried to argue, but Mao Qianhan cut him off with a hand. Comrade Wu Xiahua, I'm going to headquarters right now. I'll bring back official documents. When I return, I trust you'll keep your promise. Deal. I'll wait. She relaxed slightly. In her mind, she'd made her decision. Before she died, she would use the last thing she had, information, to pave a road of recognition and safety for the one person who'd shown her kindness. Mao Qianhan left. Li Fei and Jiang Qinggong stayed behind. Awkward silence filled the room like fog. Can I ask? Li Fei cleared his throat. Why did you poison your whole family? Jiang Qinggong's brain actually engaged for once. Wait, were you sold? You didn't elope like your family told everyone. My grandmother's family arranged the sale. They sold me and my fourth sister to those people on the island. Xiaohua's bloodshot eyes were wide, her smile sharp as glass. I dragged myself home on my last breath for one reason, and one reason only, to send them all to hell. But the children were innocent. Jiang Qinggong burst out, full of righteous fire. Even if the adults were evil, the law should handle them. What you did was fighting evil with evil. You should have come to the police. Xiaohua's expression didn't waver. Innocent? Who isn't innocent? Were my four sisters not innocent? Her voice rose, cracking with fury. Go to the police? And what? They get a few years of free meals in prison, then they walk out, spend our blood money, and keep living their comfortable little lives. They get to live. And us? What about our suffering? Who pays for that? This world is not fair. Her eyes went wild, swirling with something dark and absolute. So, I became their judge, their jury, their executioner. You think my brother was innocent? You think my grandmother's daughters-in-law were innocent? Everyone in that family was the same. Not obviously good, not thoroughly bad. They watched. They knew. They benefited. They just didn't get their hands dirty enough to feel guilty. I gave the daughters-in-law a chance. I used less poison for them. Whether they survive or not is up to their own bodies now. The room went completely still. Not obviously good. Not thoroughly bad. That phrase embedded itself in my brain like a splinter. Because she was right. The family members who didn't do anything, who watched sisters get sold, who ate the meat that was the price of a girl's life, who benefited from the blood money without ever objecting, were they truly innocent? They weren't the ones who made the deals, but they sat at the table that was built on those deals. They lived in the house those sales paid for. They looked away when girls disappeared. Not obviously good. Not thoroughly bad. Just complicit enough to sleep at night, and guilty enough to deserve sleepless ones. I sat there, holding Wu Xiaohua's hand, and for the first time in both my lives, I had absolutely nothing funny to say. So there I was, holding the hand of Wu Xiaohua, a girl who'd been through absolute hell and back. She looked at me with those bloodshot eyes and said she just wanted to die with her family, because a family should be together. Li Fei and Jiang Qinggong went dead silent. I get it. She's done terrible things. But I looked her straight in the eyes and said, I think you weren't wrong. You should have seen Li Fei and Jiang Qinggong's faces. Their jaws practically hit the floor. Yeah, I know, my moral compass is unconventional. I clarified legally. Absolutely a crime. Law is law. But emotionally? Facing those invaders, she was smart, calm, and decisive. If it were me in her shoes, I would have died like 800 times over. I genuinely admire her. She's incredible. Wu Xiaohua laughed, this broken, shattered laugh, gripping her blanket so tight her knuckles went white. Her whole tragic life, tossed around like seaweed in a storm. But hearing someone finally understand her, she looked
Free.
like a weight lifted right off her soul. Eventually, Comrade Mao Qianhan came back with the bureau chief, and after everything was handled, he threw me on the back of his bicycle, and we were racing home. I kept checking my watch. Past 5 p.m. already. It's autumn, so it was pitch dark. Ji Yanfeng and Out Yen were definitely freaking out. Why didn't I tell Grandpa Dylan to pass along a message? Stupid me. Then, SCRECH. Mao Qianhan slammed the brakes and my forehead went straight into his back like a battering ram. Pretty sure he wanted to cry, but was too cool to show it. My head is basically a weapon at this point. I jumped off the bike and looked ahead. There, standing in the road like a small mountain, was a figure wearing a red headscarf on top and a green headscarf wrapped around their face. Just standing there, menacingly, like a very festive scarecrow. I squinted. That silhouette. That ridiculous presence. Why does this look familiar? Do you know them? Mao Qianhan stepped in front of me protectively.
Probably.
Maybe. Most likely. It's my family member, I called out, and the mountain moved. A gut-wrenching cry of "Auntie" echoed through the air, and this giant human missile launched himself at me. I stumbled back from the impact. Ah yes, that brute force. No wonder he looked familiar. Ji Yanfeng buried his face in my neck and started nuzzling like an oversized puppy. Okay, enough. There are people watching. I patted his big dumb head. I thanked Mao Qianhan for the ride, and before he left, I asked, will Xiaohua get the death penalty? He said he wasn't sure, but wiping out an entire island of invaders was a massive achievement on its own. They'd investigate and report back. Then I played my card. I don't need any credit for today. Please use it to reduce her sentence. He looked at me, and a real smile crossed his face. Deal. As he pedaled away with those ridiculously long legs, I turned back to my walking Christmas decoration of a nephew and shoved his face away from my neck. Explain. This outfit. Now, Yanfeng started fidgeting like a guilty child. Then Out Yen popped out of Yanfeng's coat pocket, hands on his tiny hips, looking extremely pleased with himself. I dressed the big dummy up. Pretty great, right? I looked at the ensemble again. Red scarf on head, green scarf on face. Honestly, Out Yen could have done worse. At least the green one wasn't on his head. Small mercies. You didn't come home. You didn't send word. We were worried sick. Out Yen scolded me. Yanfeng pulled down his face scarf and gave me the most pitiful puppy eyes. Auntie, I can't leave the village, but I was so worried. So Out Yen helped me disguise myself to sneak out and find you. My heart melted a little. Today was my fault. Won't happen again. I put Out Yen on my shoulder, grabbed Yanfeng's hand, and started walking. Let's go, we're going home. Out Yen pumped his tiny fist from my shoulder. Home. Yanfeng stared at our intertwined hands with this intense look, his face still doing its usual goofy innocent thing, but something dark and unreadable swirled in his eyes. Classic Yanfeng, looking like a golden retriever while secretly being something else entirely. At the village entrance, we ran into Uncle Sun Qingshu with my brothers, rushing out with the ox cart, clearly coming to search for me. Maximum embarrassment achieved. I apologized about 1,000 times, explained I'd been helping the police, and assured everyone I was fine. Back at their house, Aunt Chen Guixiang asked Uncle Qingshu if they'd found me. Then she dropped this bomb. You think Youyou and Yanfeng might catch feelings spending all that time together? Uncle nearly popped a vein. Stop talking nonsense. That's impossible. Annie just rolled her eyes. If only Yanfeng were covered. He's so handsome. They'd be a perfect match. Uncle ignored her, washed up, got into bed, and was snoring in literally 10 seconds flat.
Auntie.
Meanwhile, I locked up the house, grabbed my crew, and slipped into my secret space. Another absolutely normal day in my life. We dug out some leftover food from the stash and threw together a sad little dinner. Then the three of us, 2 humans and 1 clam, plopped onto the couch, and I told them everything that happened. Ji Yanfeng and Out Yen were clutching tiny handkerchiefs like they were watching a drama marathon, crying 1 second, furious the next, then pumping their fists with excitement. The emotional range was Olympic level. Will Xiaohua die? Yanfeng looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. He genuinely admired her guts and brains. Is she really guilty, though? Out Yen wrung out his soaking wet handkerchief and hit us with a philosophical deep cut. I shook my head bitterly. I don't know, but if it were me, I would have done the same thing to those so-called family members. Laws are made for people who follow them, Yanfeng murmured, his eyes going all distant and dark, like he was staring into some void only he could see. Hold on. That was weirdly profound? Yanfeng, have you been feeling better lately? Like, mentally? Because sometimes this boy says things that are way too normal for someone who's supposed to be, not all there. I've always been fine, Auntie. He tilted his head, eyes sparkling with that signature pure, crystalline stupidity. Out Yen and I exchanged a look. Yeah, never mind. We were overthinking it. That level of clear-eyed dumbness is not something just anyone can pull off. It's practically a talent. After some fruit, everyone went to bed. I spent some time thinking about getting communication stones from Yi Fan, basically ancient walkie-talkies. In the modern world, a single phone call would have solved today's mess. In this era, my best bet is my Ghost Brothers Supernatural Amazon Prime. I pulled out the new communication stone Yi Fan gave me and sent him a message. Yi bro, I need a few communication stones that work in the living world. Can you hook me up? No reply. Fair enough. Even Ghost Brothers need sleep, I guess. Out Yen was already passed out, hugging his round little belly like a satisfied dumpling. Yanfeng lay on the bed staring at the moon through the window, lost in thought. And me? I drifted off with a head full of worries. That night, some slept with heavy hearts, some slept with newfound peace, and some slept buzzing with excitement. Morning came with aggressive knocking on my door. I threw on clothes and stumbled to open it. Standing there, drenched in sweat and gasping like he'd sprinted a marathon in the freezing autumn air, was Li Fei. Wu Xiaohua is dead. My ears started ringing. The world went muffled, like someone stuffed cotton in my head. Multiple organ failure. She stopped breathing around 4 a.m. Li Fei caught his breath. She died smiling, looked completely at peace. My legs gave out. I stumbled backward, but Yanfeng caught me from behind like the giant safety net he is. Auntie, can I see her off one last time? My voice came out raw and cracked. Tears just started falling on their own. I'd only met Xiaohua twice. But her story, everything she'd been through, it wrecked me. I gave her a few meat buns once, and she repaid me with loyalty and gratitude. She was brave, clever, resourceful. And this was her ending. It wasn't fair. My heart ached for her. Our boss actually sent me to ask if you wanted to come. Li Fei scratched his head. We should go now. I grabbed a few things and headed for the door. Yanfeng followed me like a sad puppy, big eyes watching me leave. Be good. If I'm late, don't panic. I'll be home by 8 p.m. at the absolute latest. Okay? I ruffled his hair. Okay. Come home soon, Annie. He nodded obediently and watched me disappear down the road. By the time I reached the commune, Xiaohua had already been cremated. Yesterday, she was alive. Today, a small urn of ashes. The guard who'd been watching her said her last words were, "My life." I think it was complete after all. I completely lost it. Full waterworks. Li Fei offered to take me home, but I refused. The entire station had mobilized to investigate the places Xiaohua described. Only Li Fei and the guard were left. I wasn't about to be a burden. I'd just catch a ride with Grandpa Dylan's ox cart like usual. So I walked out of the station, clutching Xiaohua's urn, feeling like my soul had left my body. What I did not notice was a pair of hateful eyes boring into my back from behind. Someone watched me, flashed a creepy smile, then vanished. Walking through the bustling streets, everyone busy with their own lives, I had this overwhelming realization. The world doesn't stop for anyone. People die, and the sun still rises. Nobody cares unless it's their own family. I looked down at the urn in my arms and held it tighter. Next life, Xiaohua. Please be born into a good family. One that doesn't treat daughters like garbage. One that's warm and whole and happy.
Wait.
Reincarnation. That's literally Yi Fan's whole department. He's in the afterlife business. Different dimension, sure, but they're basically co-workers across branches. Brain activated. Plan forming. I ducked into a quiet alley and whipped out the communication stone. Yi Fan had replied. Yi Fan. Other people? No way. My little sister? She gets everything. I'm hitting up the trading pavilion right now, be there soon. Me. I'm at the commune today, I'll be home later. Yi Fan. Already bought them. Coming to find you now. Before I could even type back, the air around me dropped about 15 degrees. Little sis. Long time no see. I missed you. Yi Fan materialized right next to me, flashing his big, toothy grin like a golden retriever who'd found its owner. I broke into a nervous sweat. Bro, is it okay for you to be out in broad daylight? He smugly smoothed his sideburns like some ghostly heartthrob. That's only a problem for little baby ghosts. Your big brother's soul power? On a completely different level. Yi bro, I need a favor. 10 favors. Anything. But hold that thought. He leaned in close and whispered, Sis, there's a sketchy rat-faced person over there who's been watching you this whole time. I didn't turn around. Casual as can be, I pulled out my little mirror and checked. Zhang Zhaodi. Of course. That woman is like a cockroach. She just won't go away. Want me to handle it? Yi Fan cracked his ghostly knuckles. Protecting his little sister from pests was his sworn brotherly duty. We're not killing anyone, bro. I mean, yeah, I considered it last time, but I couldn't let Yi Fan catch that karma. He rolled his eyes, so hard they nearly did a full 360. What do you think I am? Just watch. He extended his hand toward Zhang Zhaodi and did this little come-here finger curl. Instantly, her eyes went blank, and she started walking toward us, like a zombie on autopilot. My jaw dropped. That skill? Insanely cool. Zhang Zhaodi shuffled up to us like a zombie NPC in a video game. Dead eyes, zero expression, completely under Yi Fan's control. Yi Fan crossed his arms, all business. Why are you sneaking around following Youyou? Zhang Zhaodi's voice came out flat and robotic. To kill her. Yi Fan literally jumped 3 feet in the air. Cease. What did you do to this woman? That's terrifying. I rolled my eyes so hard, I saw my own brain. Oh, please. You live in the underworld, and this scares you? When you're out here hustling, you're gonna catch a few knives. That's just life. I took over the interrogation. How are you planning to kill me? Haha. Someone offered to help me. I lure Youyou to him, and then I get to kill her. Who is this person? Don't know. Then how do you contact him? She gave us directions, and we followed her through a maze of back alleys until we ended up outside the city, at this abandoned Dragon King temple. The problem? Wide open space, zero cover. I couldn't get close without being spotted. Yi Fan volunteered himself instantly. Though let's be real, he just wanted front row seats to the drama. He zoomed off like a ghost on a mission. Meanwhile, I stood there thinking, note to self, ask Yi Fan about invisibility talismans. In situations like these, I could just slap one on and waltz right in. Life goals. Less than 10 minutes later, he floated back, grinning.
Done.
Come look. I channeled my inner track and field champion and sprinted inside. There, lined up at the entrance like 2 mannequins in a store window, stood Zhang Zhaodi and a young guy. maybe early 20s, decent looking, about 5 feet 7 inches, both staring blankly into the void. I looked at Yifan. He gave a proud nod. No need to thank me. That's just what big brothers do. Thank you, Yi bro, and I genuinely meant it. Without him, none of this would have been this easy. Hee between siblings, skip the formalities, just burn me more spirit money and we're even. His eyes crinkled into happy little crescents. Deal. Then his face went serious. I peeked into that guy's memories. He's the child of an enemy soldier, deliberately planted in our country after the war. He's been trained by handlers and they've been watching you because they know your identity. My identity. I blinked. What identity?
I'm literally not Ubedi.
Not your previous life's identity as a corporate slave, you dummy. Yifan could read me like a book. Years of being a workhorse had given me permanent imposter syndrome, apparently. They won't exploit your status as an orphan of war martyrs. The plan was to brainwash you, turn you into their asset. They spotted your conflict with Zhang Zhaodi and figured they'd use her as bait to lure you in. Once you showed up, they'd kill Zhang Zhaodi and take control of you. My blood ran cold. Can you see who he reports to? His network. No, they're careful. But Yifan paused. I saw photos of Ji Yanfeng in his memories. They're hunting him. I nearly choked on air. Why? That part wasn't in his head. I went quiet. So that's why Yanfeng can't leave the village. The outside world literally wants him dead. And Zhang Zhaodi genuinely wanted to kill me this time. Oh yeah. Fry first, then kill. Charming. Yi bro, I want to do something about her. Sis, don't dirty your hands on trash like her. This world still has karmic laws, heaven's watching. What if I just make her stupid? Would that cause karma? Nah, she tried to kill you first. It's basically self-defense. Even the heavenly law isn't that heartless. A slow smile crept across my face.
See?
I'm being generous. She wanted my life. I'm only taking her brain cells. Yifan shivered. Why did it suddenly feel so cold? As for the enemy spy, Yifan planted a mental suggestion, and the guy marched himself straight to the police station to turn himself in.
Just like that.
Walk in, confess everything, gift-wrapped. The commune police station absolutely exploded that day. The whole department went nuclear. Jiang Qinggong and Mao Qianhan were running around like headless chickens. They arrested a ton of people and dismantled an enemy intelligence network that had been embedded in the Bohai Bay region for years. One day's work basically crippled their entire operation. With that handled, I brought up Wu Xiaohua to Yifan. He waved his hand like it was nothing. This kind of thing? Super common in the underworld. In terms of good and evil, Xiaohua's grandmother, father, and that whole maternal side of the family, they'd each get what they deserved. Boiling oil, punishment pits, the whole afterlife justice menu. As for Xiaohua poisoning all those invaders, that counted as a major good deed down below. The underworld has its own scales of justice, and they're actually
fair.
Can I see her one more time? My voice was small. No can do, sis. The living and the dead walk different paths. I gave him a look. He hopped defensively. I'm not a regular ghost, okay? Don't compare me. Then can I at least send her some money for the afterlife? That I can do. Reincarnation takes about 3 months anyway. She can use it to grease the wheels while she waits. I hope she gets a good family next time. With the heavy stuff settled, Yifan shoved 10 communication stones into my hands. Upgraded version, facial recognition, friend requests, the works. He taught me how to use them and was about to leave when I grabbed his sleeve. Yi bro, do you have any invisibility talismans? Protection charms? Anything like that? I smiled my most charming, flattering, absolutely shameless smile while clinging to his sleeve. Please stop smiling like that. You're scaring me. He tried to pull his sleeve free. Tried again. And again.
Nope.
My grip is iron.
I don't have those on me.
I need to trade with a friend for them. Sensing an opening, I went full flattery mode. You know, I just realized my big brother isn't just handsome, he's also incredibly capable. Yifan's mouth twitched. He was trying so hard not to smile.
Don't rush me on this.
My friend has exactly one hobby, making pills and drawing talismans. I'll need to gather quality talisman paper and medicinal herbs for him first. Then I can trade for a bunch. My eyes lit up. Medicinal herbs? Did somebody say medicinal herbs? Bro, my dearest brother, I have herbs in my pocket dimension. Ginseng, lingji mushrooms, purple lingji, ironbark dendrobium, you name it. Or just tell me what seeds he needs. I can grow anything. I pulled out 2 of my biggest, oldest ginseng roots and purple lingji from the space. Take these to him as samples. If they don't work, consider them a gift from your little sister. Yes.
Perfect.
He's from a cultivation dimension, so let me check with him first. Wait for my message. Oh, and don't forget, I'm coming by your place tonight to deliver spirit money. He waved, and his body gradually went transparent until, poof, gone. I exhaled. More protection means more lives. I'd make sure to stock up extras for Yanfeng especially. Walking home, my mind started connecting dots. Why would anyone want to kill Ji Yanfeng? Does he know some secret? His mysterious uncle dropped him off at Uncle Sun's place and promised monthly living expenses. Then vanished.
Poof. Gone.
I'd originally assumed his aunt intercepted the money based on Yanfeng's fragmented memories.
But now?
Maybe his uncle was being watched. Maybe he physically couldn't send anything. Outyen said there's a foreign object in Yanfeng's skull. The mother wolf said the last time she saw him, he'd been shot. So the thing in his head is a bullet. And, before whatever happened to him, he was probably a soldier. The pieces were slowly coming together. And the picture they were forming? Terrifying. Speaking of soldiers, I suddenly remembered those care packages I mailed out. No idea when Jiang Hang and Xiang Tian would get them. I mean, I'm technically not even from this timeline, but soldiers are the most lovable people in any dimension. I genuinely want to do my part for this country. I strolled home without catching the ox cart, arriving around noon. Yanfeng was sitting in the courtyard pavilion, the one I'd recently winterized with wind barriers all around it, turning it into a cozy little heated nook. Perfect for winter tea sessions. Very aesthetic. Very me. The second my foot touched the gate, Yanfeng recognized my footsteps. This boy has ERS like a bat, grabbed the railing, and vaulted over like some kind of parkour athlete. Landed right in front of me as I opened the door. You're back. Auntie. Full sunshine smile. Good boy. I reached out my hand, and he immediately ducked his head under it like a trained puppy. Eyes half closed, nuzzling into my palm with maximum contentment. Honestly? Adorable. Dangerously adorable. Where's Outyen? Sleeping. He grabbed my hand and led me to the pavilion. Did you finish your business, Andy? Yep, and there's even a surprise bonus. I wasn't ready to tell them about Yifan yet. That reveal needed proper timing. What surprise? Outyen crawled out of his tiny basket, rubbing his eyes. I winked. Secret I'll tell you once I've confirmed everything. AUGH. You evil woman. Why even mention it then? Outyen wailed dramatically and face-planted into my palm. I poked his tiny little feet and absolutely lost it laughing. Yanfeng chuckled softly. Andy really is cute, but I do have something for you right now. I opened my palm. 2 gorgeous jade-green oval stones sat there, gleaming. 1 each. What are these, Annie? Yanfeng took his stone, cool to the touch, beautifully green. Outyen, meanwhile, was hugging his stone, kissing it repeatedly. This clam is absolutely feral for anything shiny and colorful. The stone hit his heart's bullseye dead center. I taught them how to use the communication stones, we added each other as friends, and then I discovered a bonus feature, camera and video recording. Yifan must have splurged hard on these. 10 upgraded stones in one go. My ghost brother went all out. Tonight, I absolutely had to pay him back properly. Fair's fair. Can't let my bro go broke for me. While I mentally planned my evening deliveries, Yanfeng and Outyen were glued to their new toys. 1 human and 1 clam texting each other from 3 feet apart, testing every single feature, absolutely thrilled. My heart felt so peaceful. Everyone I love, people and clam, right here, safe and happy.
And Xiaohua.
She was free now. I'd work with Yifan to make sure her reincarnation went smoothly. It was the least I could do. Night fell. I packed up my supplies and tiptoed out the door. The instant I closed it, Yanfeng's eyes snapped open in the next room. That boy misses nothing. Getting to the beach in late autumn at night was brutal. The wind sliced right through my collar like tiny frozen knives. I searched around forever before finding a spot sheltered from the wind. I messaged Yifan. First batch is for you. Second batch is for Wu Xiaohua. The best part of these new communication stones? No chanting required. No embarrassing songs.
No cringing cantations.
I could have wept with joy. The karaoke era of ghost communication was over. Since I was already out here freezing my face off, I figured, why not send some to Xiaotan too? Give the old ghost grandpa a nice surprise. I burned Yifan's share first. The wind caught the flaming spirit money, swirling it up into the sky in a fiery tornado. Mountains of paper offerings vanished in seconds. I sent Yifan a voice message. Don't forget to sign for your delivery. Then I moved spots and started burning Xiao Tan's share. Meanwhile, in the underworld, Xiao Tan was chilling at his afterlife apartment, thinking about buying some new clothes. He'd been wearing the same outfits on rotation and was worried his lady friend Youyou would get bored of looking at him. He was just about to step outside when, wham, an avalanche of money crashed through his ceiling and flattened him. He tried to get up. Whoosh, gold ingots, silver, jewelry, all of it buried him completely. Who dares ambush? He stopped mid-sentence, staring at the gold ingot 2 inches from his nose.
Wait.
This is... The Sioux girl sent this? Obviously. Who else? Youyou certainly wouldn't burn offerings for him. And in this day and age, who could even get quality spirit goods like these? Xiao Tan dug himself out of Mount Gold like a miner striking the mother lode, grinning from ear to ear. Note to self. Tell that girl to warn me next time. My ghostly skull is throbbing from the impact. Lucky he'd come home tonight. Otherwise, who knows when he'd have discovered his surprise fortune. He grabbed his money and practically skipped to the Underworld Affairs Hall. Back in the living world, I completed my mission and headed home, sneezing repeatedly. The cold wind was definitely trying to give me the flu. Popped a cold capsule the second I got in, took a hot shower, and collapsed into bed feeling wonderfully warm. I wondered how Yifan was doing with his immortal friend, and drifted off before finishing the thought. Meanwhile, the Yifan I was worrying about was being the ultimate pest. He'd found his buddy Gu Yenshin, some cultivation world big shot, and was yapping at him like a gossipy grandma on turbo mode. Yifan, blah 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 blah. Gu Yenshin continued his work. Ignored him. Yifan, blah 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 blah. Gu Yenshin's beautiful eyebrows furrowed. Still ignored him. Yifan, sensing weakness. Blah 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 blah. Gu Yenshin took a deep breath. Set down whatever he was holding. Grabbed Yifan by the scruff. Opened the door. Yeeted him outside. Slammed the door shut.
Ah.
Silence. Meanwhile, at a military base, Xiang Tian had just showered and was toweling off his hair when he walked into the barracks to find everyone huddled around a table, whispering, "What are you all plotting?" They scattered like startled pigeons, revealing a package on the table. Hee, Captain. Your wife sent you more goodies. Zhang Guang grinned, his big buck teeth gleaming against his tanned face. Captain, open it please. I can already smell it. There's definitely meat in there. My nose never lies. Li Liang was practically vibrating. Stop calling her that. She's not my wife. Where are you people getting wife from? Xiang Tian scrambled to shut down whatever romantic spell his squad was casting. Meanwhile, at a military base far away, she's our family's savior. Watch your mouths. Xiang Tian shut down his squad's wife. Nonsense immediately. Zhang Guang and Li Liang exchanged a look and silently rolled their eyes. Their captain was a steel tree finally blooming flowers, and he didn't even know it. Every time a package arrived, the second he read the letter, Mr. Stone-Faced Death God turned into a blushing romance novel protagonist. Just thinking about it gave them goosebumps. Honestly, their captain was better suited for the emotionless king of hell aesthetic. But that didn't stop them from hovering over the unboxing like vultures. Holy, this girl is absolutely loaded. How much stuff is in here? Zhang Guang and Li Liang rubbed their eyes in disbelief. Seriously, who saved who at this point? Xiang Tian ignored the two clowns and picked up my letter. I'd written out everything I sent, quantities, contents, and a very emphatic note about the hemostatic medicine. He pulled out the medicine bottle, uncorked it, and a wave of strong herbal scent filled the room. Zhang Guang reluctantly peeled his eyes away from the food pile. Captain, what is that? Li Liang, whose ancestors included imperial physicians, he was literally beaten into learning medicine by his dad with a stick, took a sniff, and went serious. This is potent. Well preserved. Way better than anything we're currently using. My father couldn't even make something this good. Hearing that, Xiang Tian did what any reasonable person would do. He grabbed a knife and slashed his own arm. Blood gushed out like it was racing to escape. Whoa, whoa, WHOA. Zhang Guang shrieked like a startled chicken and sprinted out to find bandages. Li Liang calmly poured the medicine on the wound. The blood, which had been flowing like an enthusiastic river, stopped instantly. Xiang Tian and Li Liang stared at the bottle like they'd found the Holy Grail. Zhang Guang burst back through the door, gasping, waving gauze around.
Quick.
Stop the bleeding. He looked at the perfectly sealed wound, then at their faces, then back at the wound. Back to me. I was feeling absolutely wrecked. Stuffed from breakfast, but aching everywhere. Definitely caught a cold from last night's windy seaside adventure. I was draped across my rocking chair like a dying starfish when the merit tree decided to show up and ruin my peaceful suffering. Congratulations. 3 million merit points credited. Congratulations. 100 million merit points credited. Congratulations. 100 million merit points credited. 10,000 merit points deducted. Don't lose heart. Keep trying. I performed a legendary, dying patient sits bolt upright in bed. Suddenly my back didn't hurt, my legs didn't ache, and I could have sprinted 3 miles without breaking a sweat. Where did all this come from? And why was 10,000 deducted? The merit tree broke it down. First batch. The ginseng I sent Jiang Heng got passed to a hospital director who was a genuinely good doctor serving the people. He developed medicine used on soldiers defending the nation, and soldiers carry merit. So I got a fat bonus by association. Second batch, Yi Fan mind-controlled that enemy's spy into confessing, which unraveled an intelligence network the enemy had been building for over a decade. Massive national security win. Massive merit payout. Third batch, based on the location Wu Xiaohua provided, the police found that island and hit the jackpot. Without me, Xiaohua would never have shared that information. The deduction? Because saving Xiaohua indirectly led to the deaths of the 2 Wu family branches. The merit tree sounded a little salty, honestly. This girl was basically winning merit points in her sleep now. Eating, drinking, lounging around, and merit just fell from the sky. I grinned so wide my teeth disappeared. You know what? Being generous pays. If I hadn't been big-hearted, none of this would have happened. The 10,000 deduction? Pocket change. I had hundreds of millions now. I wondered how much merit I'd harvest from this batch of packages to Jiang Heng. Today is a beautiful day. Everything's coming up, Youyou. Jiang Heng actually received his package a week later, looked at the mountain of food, and felt his wallet crying. The 2 people draining his finances the most weren't even himself. It was me and Sun Yunqi. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. Then he opened the letter. His lazy expression vanished. Face. Serious mode activated. Meanwhile, my life was gloriously boring. I was practically growing moss from sitting around. Yanfeng had stopped working at the commune and was now spending his days chopping firewood for winter. I watched him stack wood against the wall with military precision, every piece perfectly aligned, every row immaculate. It was honestly beautiful, like art. If it were me, I'd just chuck it in a pile. Close enough. Who cares about aesthetics? Thank God his OCD wasn't directed at me. Yanfeng.
Take a break.
Come have tea. I waved him over. Coming, Auntie. He put down his axe, hauled up a bucket of well water, and pulled off his sweat-soaked shirt. Then he started washing himself.
Slowly.
Very thoroughly.
I accidentally glanced over.
Broad shoulders. Narrow waist. 8-pack abs. Long legs that went on forever. That body was objectively impressive. Purely from an anatomical perspective. Scientific observation. Nothing more. What are you staring at? Yin looked up from his novel, catching me zoned out. Nothing. Nothing at all. I yanked my eyes away, but my brain was just ABS, 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 ABS on repeat. When did I become such a creep? Did I even like Yanfeng, or did I just want his body? While I spiraled into an identity crisis, the man who'd been washing himself in deliberate slow motion had a secret gleam of dark satisfaction in his eyes and the ghost of a smirk on his lips. That's sneaky little. How about we go to the ocean floor tomorrow? I suggested, desperate for a topic change. It's been ages. Yanfeng and Yin voted yes with all hands, feet, and shells. Finally, no more growing mushrooms at home. I sighed. And this time, let's go further out. We can't keep harvesting from our own backyard. Yin crossed his tiny arms smugly. You both swallowed the water-repelling pearls. Cold, heat, pressure. Nothing affects you. You could swim to the Atlantic and be fine. I rolled my eyes. Thanks, but no thanks. What if we run into pirates? I happen to value my life very much. Next morning, 5 a.m. sharp, we were up. Quick breakfast of fried dough sticks and tofu pudding, and the three of us, 2 humans, 1 clam, set out for the sea. Right after we left, Xiao Tan popped up from the underworld to thank me for the money. Found an empty house. Missed me completely. By then, I was already gliding through the ocean in my wetsuit, feeling like one with the water. I left the nearshore fish alone. Those were for our people. Yin flapped ahead like an oversized moth, his shell opening and closing rhythmically as he led the way. After swimming for who knows how long, I was getting tired and was about to call everyone into the pocket dimension for snacks when Yanfeng noticed. His long arm shot out, wrapped around my waist, and with one powerful kick, we glided forward like a torpedo. He looked at me with laughing eyes. Andy, just tell me when you're tired, no need to be shy. Me, internally short-circuiting, I really need to stop slacking on my fitness. Yin stopped ahead of us and announced, there's a shortcut here. Saves more than half the distance. I grabbed Yanfeng's hand and looked where Yin was pointing. I held Yanfeng's hand and crept toward the shortcut Yin mentioned. It was a massive crack in the ocean floor, bottomless, pitch black, absolutely nothing visible inside. My fear meter instantly maxed out. I backed up several steps. Yanfeng's arm wrapped around me immediately. Don't be scared, Auntie. I'm here. Sweet words, but my eyeballs were locked on that abyss and my brain was screaming. Nope, nope, nope. I was so terrified I didn't even notice that Yanfeng was acting. Slightly different. A little too smooth. A little too confident. Like someone else was briefly peeking through. Yin swam up to my face and patted my forehead with his little clam body. Relax. I've taken this path tons of times. It's just a little dark, a little deep, a little cold, and a little tight. Me, so it's dark, deep, cold, and claustrophobic. Wonderful. You really sold it there, buddy. Let's go. Yin shot into the crack like a tiny torpedo. I hadn't even finished my mental pep talk when Yanfeng scooped me up one-armed like a toddler and dove in after him. H. I screamed and death gripped his neck with both arms. Not letting go. Not letting
Go.
Yanfeng glanced down at me, let out a soft laugh, and kept swimming. I have zero memory of what happened next because apparently I fell asleep clinging to his neck like a terrified koala. He had to wake me up. Auntie, wake up. I opened my groggy eyes and, oh
My God.
We'd passed through the crack and emerged on the other side of the ocean floor. And it was stunning. Massive coral formations shaped like deer antlers, blazing red, some glowing emerald green, all shimmering under refracted sunlight. Forgive me, I'm not exactly a poet. I literally couldn't find words for how beautiful it was. My only coherent thought was, I want all of this in my pocket dimension. Pretty, right? Yin puffed up proudly. This is my secret base. I always wanted to take it all, but my companion space was too small. Drove me crazy at night worrying someone else would find it first. Then it hit me. We were in enemy waters now. Their side of the ocean. Why should I care about their ecosystem? But wait. My pocket dimension didn't have an ocean. How would I keep coral alive? Just designate an area, flood it with seawater, Add a bucket of spirit spring water, and it'll form its own self-sustaining marine ecosystem. You can raise anything in there. The merit tree was watching me hesitate and practically had a dental emergency from grinding its teeth. Why are you overthinking this? Take everything. My round cat eyes lit up like high beams. The merit tree was my genius advisor. Take it. Take it all. Without Yen's enthusiastic blessing, I carved out a huge trench in my pocket dimension, flooded it with seawater, added spirit spring water, and watched, in real time, as that big ugly ditch transformed into a vast, endless ocean. Right before my eyes. I placed my hand on the first chunk of thick coral. Collect. Gone. Not even a crumb left. Yanfeng carried me through the water while I just stuck my hand out and vacuumed up everything we passed. We were like a well-oiled harvesting machine. He drives, I collect. Peak teamwork. Within minutes, that entire coral field was inside my pocket dimension, looking healthier than ever. Some nearby fish witnessed the mass disappearance and fled in absolute terror. Come on, there's more. Yen was vibrating with excitement. He'd been drooling over this coral for ages and could finally rest knowing it was safe in my space. Yanfeng reached out to carry me again, but I shook my head. He'd been hauling me around this entire trip while I literally napped on him. The man had to be exhausted. Plus, I was fully recharged from my koala nap. Energy, 100%. I kicked off and zoomed forward. Behind me, Yanfeng stared at his rejected hand, then slowly looked up at my retreating figure. His eyes went dark and dangerous, like a predator watching its prey swim away. I turned around and waved cheerfully at him. He instantly tucked away whatever storm was brewing in his eyes and caught up. Totally normal. Nothing to see here.
Nope.
Soon we spotted a school of cornetfish, long snout, sleek, no scales. Tall and thin, like the supermodels of the fish world. I recognized them from all those ocean foraging videos I binged in my past life. Delicate meat, barely any bones, absolutely delicious.
Mine.
Every single one.
Non negotiable.
I crept closer, but these paranoid little swimmers had the alertness of a caffeinated squirrel. Half of them bolted instantly. I speed collected the rest before they could escape. Auntie is so amazing. Yanfeng gave me a thumbs up with a smile. Yen copied him. So amazing. I grinned so wide my eyes turned into happy crescents. If I had a tail, it would have been wagging. I waved modestly. First time, no experience. Next time I'll get them all. We pressed onward and found a school of young parrotfish, a rainbow explosion of colors. Some had 5 or 6 shades of blue in horizontal stripes, others were reddish-brown with pale edges. In my past life, a certain tiny island nation considered these high-end cuisine. Texture almost as good as salmon, but only when ultra-fresh, which, hello, pocket dimension. Freshness level, infinite. And the best part? Males and females in this group. Breed them, grow them, breed them again, unlimited parrotfish forever. I whispered my plan to Yanfeng. He nodded. Then he grabbed my waist, coiled his legs, and launched me like a human cannonball straight into the center of the fish school. My hands moved at lightning speed. Every single fish. Collected. Yen watched, stunned. These two had developed combo moves. Without him, he was becoming the third wheel of this ocean heist team.
No.
He was important. He was essential. Hey, I know where lots more delicious fish are. Follow me. My face was flushed pink with excitement. Yanfeng watched me for a moment, then quietly looked away. We continued our shopping spree. Spider conchs? Don't mind if I do. Steamed. They're incredible. Then I spotted something that looked like a sea cucumber, but covered in yellow snake-like patterns. I took one good look and backed up about 20 feet. Maximum trypophobia activated. Yen glanced at it. That's a sea cucumber too. Ugly as sin though. Never eaten one. Go. I have goosebumps everywhere. I grabbed Yen with one hand, Yanfeng with the other, and rocketed away. Somewhere behind us, the leopard sea cucumber sat on the ocean floor, having absolutely no idea that its horrifying appearance had just saved its life. We were cruising along when we spotted a school of rabbitfish. I swerved away like they were radioactive. "Auntie, why aren't you collecting those?" Yanfeng was confused. I'd been snatching everything in sight this whole trip. I literally plucked a spine off a passing sea urchin, but I was dodging an entire school of fish? Outyen was equally baffled. "These taste amazing. Tender and delicious. Why not?" I shook my head firmly. "Too many poisonous parts. If I mess up the prep, all 3 of us are dead. I am not risking a triple team kill over one fish dinner." "Fair point." Outyen nodded wisely. Behind us, Yanfeng quietly wondered how I knew so much about deep-sea fish I'd supposedly never encountered. Then he remembered all the inexplicable supernatural nonsense in my life, and just accepted it. Smart boy. I'm starving. It was past 2 p.m., and my stomach was staging a full rebellion. Outyen claimed he wasn't hungry, but his mouth was requesting snacks, which is clam speak for absolutely hungry. We popped into my pocket dimension, scarfed down some stir-fry from the storage, and jumped back out. Our sudden reappearance scared the living daylights out of a camouflaged fish nearby. It launched itself into a rock crevice and went full stealth mode, blending so perfectly with the stone that it looked like an actual rock. I squinted at it. This thing was hideous. Lumpy, warty, looked exactly like a toad had a baby with a boulder. But I knew what it was: stonefish. In my past life, these ugly monsters sold for a fortune because the meat was unbelievably tender and delicious. I gave Yanfeng and Outyen the signal. 3-way ambush. Result: it escaped. I slapped my own thigh in frustration. Yanfeng watched me with barely contained amusement. "Annie, do you have any fishing spears?" "For this kind of fish, spears work way better than bare hands." I smacked my own forehead. My pig brain. Of course. Immediately hopped on the discount shopping app and bought 2 solid fishing spears. Outyen eyed the magnificent weapons jealously, then looked down at his own tiny clam arms and sighed. Some dreams were meant to be. Yanfeng flashed a brilliant smile, scooped up Outyen, and plopped him on top of his head like a living hat. "Let's go." Outyen was thrilled. He started yelling at the top of his tiny lungs. "Mush, mush, mush me." Vietnam flashbacks of being ridden like a horse intensify. We combed through the rocky area methodically and finally spotted hidden stonefish. Yanfeng. 1 stab, 1 fish. Perfect accuracy. Every single
time.
Me. 1 stab, 1 rock. 0 fish. Magnificent failure. Outyen couldn't even watch. My aim was legendarily terrible. Yanfeng looked at me, puffing up my cheeks in frustration, his eyes twinkling with amusement. Then he swam behind me and wrapped his arms around me. I flinched, but relaxed when I saw it was him. "Auntie, just relax. I'll teach you." His throat bobbed slightly, lips curving into a gentle smile. I let my whole body go loose and let him guide my hands. His grip adjusted my angle and force, and thwack, spear meets fish. Bullseye. Wow, I actually jumped with excitement. That was incredible. He let go, and from that point on, I got better and better. By the time we'd cleared out every stonefish in the area, I was actually good at it.
I didn't want to stop.
"Girl.
Quick.
Get that school of fish." Outyen screamed so hard his voice cracked. Yanfeng and I looked where he was pointing. Torpedo-shaped bodies. Thick and powerful. Dark backs, silver-white bellies. Bluefin.
Tuna.
A massive wild school of bluefin tuna. In modern times, these sell for hundreds per pound. The aristocrats of the fish world. The Rolls-Royce of sashimi. I rubbed my hands together so fast I could have started a fire underwater. Every single
one.
Mine. I grabbed Yanfeng's hand. "Yanfeng, you cannot let me down." Outyen clenched his tiny fists. "Not one escapes. This is one of my favorite fish. If even one gets away, I will cry." Yanfeng chuckled. "All right, I'll do my best." We strategized. Then Yanfeng pulled me into his arms and rocketed toward the school at maximum speed. As we got close, he wound up his arms and launched me like a human javelin straight into the middle of the fish. I crash-landed in the center of the school, and all hell broke loose. Panicked tuna scattered in every direction, and their powerful tails went absolutely berserk, slapping me across the face repeatedly. Left cheek, right cheek, forehead,
Chin.
I was getting fish-slapped into another dimension. I lost count of how many tail smacks I took. My face was on fire. That's it. You do not hit the face. This is personal now. I cranked my spiritual power to maximum, grabbed one tuna, and screamed internally. Collect, the entire panicking, tail-whipping, chaos-creating school vanished into my pocket dimension's ocean in one fell swoop. Ha ha ha. Girl, your face is all red and puffy. Actually kinda cute. Youyou had been sweating bullets watching that, but now he was laughing. Lucky those were juveniles. If they were full-grown adults, one tail swipe wouldn't just swell your face. Your head might have detached from your body. Comforting. Very comforting.
Thank you, Youyou.
Yanfeng gently touched my swollen cheeks. Auntie, let's go back and put some medicine on. I nodded silently.
Couldn't talk.
The pain was too real. Back in the pocket dimension, I splashed spirit spring water on my face, and within minutes, the swelling disappeared completely. Good as new. Then light bulb moment. Why were we swimming around hunting fish one by one like cavemen when I could just use spirit spring water as bait? Pour some in the ocean, let every fish in the area come rushing to us, and scoop them all up. I pitched the idea. Yanfeng and Youyou were intrigued. But Yanfeng insisted on being the one outside. If the bait attracted something enormous, he wanted me safe in the pocket dimension, ready to yank him back in at a moment's notice. I tried to argue.
Lost.
The man is stubborn. He took a small bottle of spirit spring water out, found a defensible rocky outcrop, poured it into the ocean, and hid behind a reef. Within minutes, a school of fish arrived, mouths open, greedily gulping up every trace of spirit water. Then more fish came. Then more. The water churned with every species imaginable, all fighting over the invisible delicacy. I stared at the monitoring screen inside my dimension, heart pounding. When the crowd looked thick enough, Yanfeng gave the signal. I burst out, maxed my spiritual power, collected everything, grabbed Yanfeng's hand, and we bolted back into the pocket dimension without looking back. The second we got inside, Youyou rushed up, clutching his chest. Thank God you two weren't greedy, he exhaled shakily. Look at that. Yanfeng and I turned around to watch. Where we'd just been standing, a group of deep sea leviathans had converged, massive, terrifying predators thrashing around furiously, searching for the source of that incredible scent. Finding nothing, they went absolutely berserk and started attacking each other. Blood turned the water red. The scene was pure carnage. We watched in stunned silence. 5 more seconds of greed, and we would have been fish food. We were cruising along when we spotted a school of rabbitfish. I swerved away like they were radioactive. Auntie, why aren't you collecting those? Yanfeng was confused. I'd been snatching everything in sight this whole trip. I literally plucked a spine off a passing sea urchin, but I was dodging an entire school of fish? Youyou was equally baffled. These taste amazing, tender, and delicious. Why not? I shook my head firmly.
Too many poisonous parts.
If I mess up the prep, all 3 of us are dead. I am not risking a triple team kill over one fish dinner. Fair point. Youyou nodded wisely. Behind us, Yanfeng quietly wondered how I knew so much about deep-sea fish I'd supposedly never encountered. Then he remembered all the inexplicable supernatural nonsense in my life, and just accepted it. Smart boy. I'm starving. It was past 2 p.m., and my stomach was staging a full rebellion. Youyou claimed he wasn't hungry, but his mouth was, requesting snacks, which is clam speak for absolutely hungry. We popped into my pocket dimension, scarfed down some stir-fry from the storage, and jumped back out. Our sudden reappearance scared the living daylights out of a camouflaged fish nearby. It launched itself into a rock crevice and went full stealth mode, blending so perfectly with the stone that it looked like an actual rock. I squinted at it. This thing was hideous. Lumpy, warty, looked exactly like a toad had a baby with a boulder. But I knew what it was, stonefish. In my past life, these ugly monsters sold for a fortune because the meat was unbelievably tender and delicious. I gave Yanfeng and Outyin the signal. Three-way ambush. Result: it escaped. I slapped my own thigh in frustration. Yanfeng watched me with barely contained amusement. Annie, do you have any fishing spears? For this kind of fish, spears work way better than bare hands. I smacked my own forehead. My pig brain. Of course. Immediately hopped on the discount shopping app and bought 2 solid fishing spears. Outyan eyed the magnificent weapons jealously, then looked down at his own tiny clam arms and sighed. Some dreams weren't meant to be. Yanfeng flashed a brilliant smile, scooped up Outyan, and plopped him on top of his head like a living hat. Let's go. Outyan was thrilled. He started yelling at the top of his tiny lungs. Mush, 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 me. Vietnam flashbacks of being ridden like a horse intensify. We combed through the rocky area methodically and finally spotted hidden stonefish. Yanfeng. 1 stab, 1 fish. Perfect accuracy. Every single
Time.
Me. 1 stab, 1 rock. 0 fish. Magnificent failure. Outyan couldn't even watch. My aim was legendarily terrible. Yanfeng looked at me, puffing up my cheeks in frustration, his eyes twinkling with amusement. Then he swam behind me and wrapped his arms around me. I flinched, but relaxed when I saw it was him. Auntie, just relax. I'll teach you. His throat bobbed slightly, lips curving into a gentle smile. I let my whole body go loose and let him guide my hands. His grip adjusted my angle and force, and thwack, spear meets fish. Bullseye. Wow, I actually jumped with excitement. That was incredible. He let go, and from that point on, I got better and better. By the time we'd cleared out every stonefish in the area, I was actually good at it.
I didn't want to stop. Girl, quick.
Get that school of fish. Outyan screamed, so hard his voice cracked. Yanfeng and I looked where he was pointing. Torpedo-shaped bodies. Thick and powerful. Dark backs, silver-white bellies. Bluefin.
Tuna.
A massive wild school of bluefin tuna. In modern times, these sell for hundreds per pound. The aristocrats of the fish world. The Rolls-Royce of sashimi. I rubbed my hands together so fast I could have started a fire underwater.
Every
single
one.
Mine. I grabbed Yanfeng's hand. Yanfeng, you cannot let me down. Outyan clenched his tiny fists. Not one escapes. This is one of my favorite fish. If even one gets away, I will cry. Yanfeng chuckled. All right, I'll do my best. We strategized. Then Yanfeng pulled me into his arms and rocketed toward the school at maximum speed. As we got close, he wound up his arms and launched me like a human javelin straight into the middle of the fish. I crash-landed in the center of the school, and all hell broke loose. Panicked tuna scattered in every direction, and their powerful tails went absolutely berserk, slapping me across the face repeatedly. Left cheek, right cheek, forehead,
chin.
I was getting fish slapped into another dimension. I lost count of how many tail smacks I took. My face was on fire. That's it. You do not hit the face. This is personal now. I cranked my spiritual power to maximum, grabbed 1 tuna, and screamed internally. Collect, the entire panicking, tail-whipping, chaos-creating school vanished into my pocket dimension's ocean in one fell swoop. Ha ha ha. Girl, your face is all red and puffy. Actually kinda cute. Outyan had been sweating bullets watching that, but now he was laughing. Lucky those were juveniles. If they were full-grown adults, one tail swipe wouldn't just swell your face. Your head might have detached from your body. Comforting. Very comforting.
Thank you, Outyan.
Yanfeng gently touched my swollen cheeks. Auntie, let's go back and put some medicine on. I nodded silently.
Couldn't talk.
The pain was too real. Back in the pocket dimension, I splashed spirit spring water on my face, and within minutes, The swelling disappeared completely. Good as new. Then light bulb moment. Why were we swimming around hunting fish one by one like cavemen when I could just use spirit spring water as bait? Pour some in the ocean, let every fish in the area come rushing to us, and scoop them all up. I pitched the idea. Yanfeng and Out Yen were intrigued. But Yanfeng insisted on being the one outside. If the bait attracted something enormous, he wanted me safe in the pocket dimension, ready to yank him back in at a moment's notice. I tried to argue.
Lost.
The man is stubborn. He took a small bottle of spirit spring water out, found a defensible rocky outcrop, poured it into the ocean, and hid behind a reef. Within minutes, a school of fish arrived, mouths open, greedily gulping up every trace of spirit water. Then more fish came. Then more. The water churned with every species imaginable, all fighting over the invisible delicacy. I stared at the monitoring screen inside my dimension, heart pounding. When the crowd looked thick enough, Yanfeng gave the signal. I burst out, maxed my spiritual power, collected everything, grabbed Yanfeng's hand, and we bolted back into the pocket dimension without looking back. The second we got inside, Out Yen rushed up, clutching his chest. Thank God you two weren't greedy, he exhaled shakily. Look at that. Yanfeng and I turned around to watch. Where we'd just been standing, a group of deep sea leviathans had converged, massive, terrifying predators thrashing around furiously, searching for the source of that incredible scent. Finding nothing, they went absolutely berserk and started attacking each other. Blood turned the water red. The scene was pure carnage. We watched in stunned silence. 5 more seconds of greed, and we would have been fish food. After watching those sea monsters tear each other apart over nothing, I came to one very important conclusion. The spirit spring water is way too powerful. Next time we use a lot less. Now, let's go check out our haul. I brought Yanfeng and Out Yen to the newly created ocean in my pocket dimension. Above the water's surface floated enormous spheres of water containing everything I'd just collected, like giant aquatic snow globes. The visual was absolutely spectacular. I deliberately kept the new catches suspended instead of releasing them into the sea, because I wanted to inspect everything first. And boy was I glad I did. I pulled out a few unusual fish for closer examination. Over 100 pounds each, long spindle-shaped bodies, grayish-white bellies, black-banded pectoral fins. I wasn't 100% sure what they were, so I hopped on the discount shopping app and bought an encyclopedia of marine fish. After careful comparison, these were yellow-lipped fish, a species exclusive to our country, the rarest of the rare. And these 7 traders had somehow swum all the way to enemy waters? I stared at them with deep moral judgment. Disloyal, unpatriotic, deserters. Humph. Tonight, I would represent justice by eating one. Yanfeng watched my facial expressions cycle through about 17 emotions in 3 seconds. He looked mildly concerned and mildly fascinated. We're eating this one tonight. I pointed at the biggest yellow-lipped fish. Then I remembered something. I sent my spiritual power into the ocean, located the bluefin tuna school, and marked every single one that had slapped me during the Great Tuna Assault. The one that had whacked my face the most? Yanked it right out of the water. You hit me the hardest. You're tomorrow's dinner. Yanfeng and Out Yen exchanged a glance and quickly looked away from each other. Yanfeng pressed his hand against his lips, throat bobbing, desperately cycling through every traumatic memory he had to keep from exploding with laughter. Out Yen simply turned around and wheeze-laughed in silence. Neither of them dared, let me see. Oblivious, I continued my inventory and found giant grouper. Over 700 pounds, covered in dark blue-black spots, 6 horizontal bands across its body. It stared at me with pure terror in its eyes. I stroked my chin thoughtfully. Found 3 smaller ones in the haul too. Okay, no eating these yet. Let them breed first. Soon I'd have an endless supply. There were also massive lobsters, premium prawns, squid, cuttlefish, sea wolves, coral trout, snub-nosed trevally. I was giddy. My eyes were practically dollar signs. I love shrimp. All shrimp. Any shrimp. Every shrimp. This trip was the best investment of my life. I had menus planned out for weeks. I dumped everything into the ocean, mentally washed my hands of fish management, and, despite wanting that yellow-lipped fish for dinner, didn't end up cooking it that night. Instead, I used the pocket dimensions time difference to rest up, then went back out and absolutely pillaged the enemy's ocean floor. Every fish, every crab, every shrimp gone. I left their once rich waters looking like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. They wouldn't recover for over a decade. I regret nothing. After a nap in the pocket dimension, we headed home. Out Yen led the way, but Yanfeng kept spotting cool things and dragging us off route. Our direct path home turned into a zigzagging treasure hunt. Eventually, we were back in our own waters when Yanfeng suddenly stopped and started poking at something on the seafloor.
I swam over.
What are you looking at? No idea. Out Yen scratched his head. Auntie. Yanfeng stood up, his clear eyes unusually serious. My blurry memories are telling me this is something bad. I think it's a spy device. I crouched down and examined it. Shaped like a yellow croaker fish, but up close, you could see obvious seams and unnatural bumps on the surface. From the surface, it'd look like a regular fish. Down here,
Clearly fake.
it was a foreign surveillance probe, secretly planted in our waters. I was furious. The absolute audacity. Outyin reached out to touch it, and I grabbed his little clam arm just in time. Who knows if this thing had a self-destruct system? I explained what it was. Outyin went from confused to livid. Cowards! Fight us face to face if you dare. Spineless, turtle-headed. Auntie, what do we do? Yanfeng squatted beside me, those impossibly pure eyes looking at me for guidance. I scratched my head anxiously. Hold on, let me buy a book. Went on the shopping app, bought a reference book, flipped through it desperately. Learned absolutely nothing useful. I'm right here, you know. Why are you stressing? The merit tree showed up in the clutch. It had been off helping some other host in an ancient farming novel, but sensed a major situation on my end and rushed back. Thank God you're here. I was genuinely moved. This day had been an emotional roller coaster. Oh, now you appreciate me. The merit tree smugly shook its branches. Don't touch it with your hands. That triggers self-destruct. Wrap it in spiritual power and put it in the dimension storage pouch. I'll handle the rest. That's IT? That's simple. I was suspicious. Can you also scan our waters for more of these things? The merit tree wanted to roll its non-existent eyes. Everything just fell into my lap, and now I wanted it spoon-fed too? There are 6 more. Secure this one first, then I'll guide you. It immediately regretted saying that. Its mouth had no filter. I was officially the luckiest and laziest host it had ever worked with. While other hosts scraped together merit in single digits, I was hitting millions on casual beach trips. Heaven literally chased me down to shove food in my mouth. But complaints aside, it still helped me without missing a beat. You two back up. I'm gonna contain it. I sent Yanfeng and Outyin to a safe distance, then focused my spiritual power, slowly wrapping it around the probe. Careful.
Steady.
And within minutes, sealed. Yanfeng's face lit up with barely contained excitement. He knew I could do it. Meanwhile, the other Yanfeng, the one lurking behind those innocent eyes, was mildly exasperated. The innocent idiot version was working overtime to keep the real personality from surfacing. Impressive commitment, honestly. Outyin was deeply moved. He might just be a clam who didn't fully understand concepts like patriotism, but he had territorial instincts.
His territory.
His ocean.
No trespassing.
He related to our anger on a spiritual level. Toy. Shameless, despicable scum. All right, team. Next one. Riding high on righteous fury, I grabbed Outyan's shell in one hand and Yanfeng's hand in the other, and we zoomed toward the next target, guided by the merit tree's directions. 6 more to go. And I was collecting them all. That entire night, the 3 of us, 2 humans, 1 clam, zigzagged across the ocean floor like caffeinated pinballs. By the end, I had no idea how far we'd traveled. But mission accomplished. Every single enemy surveillance device hidden in our waters was sealed safely inside my pocket dimension storage pouch. The merit tree handled the explosive systems instantly. Now, they were just fancy paperweights. Harmless. I was destroyed. Since arriving in this world, I had never, and I mean never, done anything this physically intense. My legs were jelly. My feet were noodles. My head was a spinning top. Yanfeng looked at me with those worried, puppy eyes. Auntie, I'll carry you home. Please sleep. I was too exhausted to even speak. I shuffled behind him. He crouched down. I flopped onto his back, and I was unconscious within seconds. She really suffered tonight, Outyen whispered near Yanfeng's ear, watching me snore like a tiny chainsaw. Auntie is incredible. She deserves everyone's respect. Yanfeng swam at top speed, heart swelling with pride. We got home at 5:30 a.m. I was dead to the world. Yanfeng and Outyen tucked me onto the heated bed, stoked the fire underneath to warm it up, and then went home to wash up and rest. These two, honestly, I don't deserve them. I was jolted awake by my communication stone vibrating like it was having a seizure. Bleary-eyed, I checked the screen. Every single message was from Yi Fan. All of them. I scrolled through. Wu Xiaohua's spirit money had been received. Her reincarnation fees were covered, her waiting period expenses were handled, and she wouldn't owe the underworld a single coin. Her next life's family? Loving parents, no favoritism toward sons, a peaceful and happy existence. Her last wish: scatter her ashes in the ocean. The thing she lacked most in this life was freedom. And her greatest happiness? Meeting me. My eyes got misty. Good. At least her next life would be complete. Moving on, Yi Fan had finalized the deal with his immortal friend. Every type of talisman I wanted was available. The price? My spirit spring water. His friend, Gu Yenshin, was the former sect leader of the Lingxiao sect. Hobbies: making pills and drawing talismans. His back mountain was covered in spiritual plants and herbs, but he'd been struggling to grow the rare ones because his mountain had plenty of spiritual energy but lacked the right growing conditions, specifically, the right kind of water. When he heard I had a spirit spring dimension, he immediately proposed a trade. Yi Fan negotiated the terms: 1 pound of spirit spring water for 1 pound of assorted talismans. I couldn't help laughing out loud. My ghost brother was a savage negotiator. I'd read enough novels to know that talismans made by a grandmaster-level cultivator were insanely valuable in the cultivation world. And Gu Yenshin agreed, because spirit spring water was equally rare on his end. The last auction sold 10 drops for 8 million high-grade spirit stones.
He was happy.
I was ecstatic. Win-win of the century. I jumped into my pocket dimension, grabbed a ceramic bottle, and headed to the spirit spring. I stopped dead. Above the spring pool, mystical fog was swirling like something out of a fantasy movie. I looked down at the water. Didn't look any different, though. I scooped up a cup and drank it. Tasted the same, then my stomach imploded. I teleported to the bathroom so fast, I probably broke the sound barrier. What followed was, let's just say, I nearly passed out from the smell. When I finally emerged, my entire body was covered in black, oily gunk.
Oh.
I'd read enough novels to recognize this immediately. Body purification. The classic cultivation trope, where your body expels all its impurities. I was living a novel. I gleefully stuffed tissue paper up my nostrils and practically danced into the shower. After scrubbing myself raw for what felt like an hour, I finally got clean. I looked in the mirror and nearly screamed. My skin was so white it was practically glowing. My pores had essentially vanished. I looked like I'd been photoshopped in real life. I went back to examine the spring. Did it just upgrade itself? When your accumulated merit reaches a certain threshold, the dimension auto-upgrades. The merit tree hadn't planned on explaining, but apparently my confused face was too pathetic to ignore. This spirit spring water is now one of a kind in existence. It can purify the body, save someone with a single breath left, and if you drip 1 drop on a ginseng seed, it'll grow to 10 years old instantly. My eyes lit up like Christmas trees. So you're saying, if I wanted 1,000-year-old ginseng, that's like a few minutes' work? The merit tree pursed its non-existent lips. This girl learned fast when food and profit were involved.
Yes.
So keep doing good deeds and accumulating merit. But what about the 7 surveillance probes I found? Isn't that a huge achievement? Where's my merit? You have to hand them over, and they have to be investigated. Plus, those devices contain important recorded intelligence. Hand them to who? And when people ask how I got them from the bottom of the ocean, what do I say? The merit tree rolled its non-existent eyes so hard they almost fell out. Is there anything you're willing to use your brain for besides eating and having fun? Hee tree bro. What if I just secretly leave them at the police station doorstep? Comrade Mao Qianhan and Jiang Qinggong were the only trustworthy people I could think of. They were upright enough to handle something this big.
See?
You can think when you try. The merit tree sighed deeply. You are the laziest host I have ever had. But isn't that because I have you? Without you, I'd never have this amazing life. You're the greatest, the most powerful, my absolute idol. Flattery penetrates all armor. The merit tree puffed up with joy and went full hero mode.
Fine.
Just give me the devices. I'll deliver them myself. YSSS. Merit tree, you are so handsome. So cool. I literally worship you. The merit tree's mouth curled into the smuggest grin imaginable as it grabbed the goods and zoomed off. I collapsed onto the couch in my best, retired grandpa pose and pondered life. The spirit spring water had leveled up, which meant this trade with Gu Yenshin was now even more in my favor. I filled a whole jug, messaged Yifan, and hopped out of the dimension. Yifan practically teleported over the second he got my message. Yi bro, this water is better than before. I packed extra as a thank you for all your help. My manners delighted him to no end. Friendship is friendship, but everyone appreciates someone who's gracious and generous. He left grinning ear to ear, already scheming to squeeze even more goodies out of Gu Yenshin for his favorite little sister. Not 2 minutes later, Yanfeng heard the commotion and vaulted over the wall without Yan in tow. He started circling me like a worried satellite. Auntie, are you still tired? Are you okay? He was making me dizzy. I grabbed him to make him stop.
I'm fine.
But if you keep spinning, I'm going to pass out. So girl, what are you doing with those devices? Out Ian hopped onto the table, eyeing me. Already handled. Got a friend on it. All sorted. I yawned and poured myself some tea. Easy peasy. Yanfeng watched me quietly, his long lashes hiding whatever was going on behind those eyes. He didn't ask questions. He trusted me, and somehow, he could sense there was a mysterious force helping us. And he knew it was connected to me. Smart boy. Terrifyingly smart boy. Hey girl, your complexion looks terrible. Why are you so pale? Are you sick? Outyan squinted at me with concern. Excuse me? This is called glowing. Luminous. Porcelain smooth. How is this terrible? I was offended. I turned to Yanfeng for backup. His survival instincts kicked in hard. Auntie's complexion is wonderful.
Smooth, rosy, radiant. Ah, see?
Yanfeng has eyes that work. Outyan opened his mouth to argue, but Yanfeng snatched him up and clamped his little clam mouth shut before he could ruin it. I was too busy basking in compliments to notice their little struggle. Time to celebrate our ocean heist with a feast. I dragged them both into the pocket dimension. They had to try the upgraded spirit spring water. I showed them to the guest room, taught Yanfeng how to use the shower. Yes, my ancient pocket dimension has modern plumbing. Don't ask. Left the spirit spring water, closed the door, and headed straight for the kitchen. Tonight's star, that traitorous yellow-lipped fish, the unpatriotic deserter. Justice would be served. Steamed. In my past life, eating this fish could literally land you in prison. It's that protected and expensive. But here, in this timeline, in my pocket dimension, court is not in session. I'd never cooked one before, so I went with classic steamed fish technique. First, I carefully removed the precious swim bladder. That thing alone was worth enough to buy a boat. Set that aside like the treasure it was. This fish was over 100 pounds. I filleted so much meat I filled 40+ plates. Each one got a bed of ginger and scallion strips. then into the giant steamer in batches until the flesh just barely curled. Round after round after round of steaming. Drained the liquid, fresh ginger and scallions on top, then the money move, a ladle of screaming hot oil poured over each plate. The sizzle, the aroma. I nearly ascended to heaven right there. A drizzle of steamed fish soy sauce around the rim. And done. Kept 3 plates for us, stored the rest. The fish head was massive, so I bought a giant pot online, split the head in 2, chopped the bones into sections, pan-fried everything golden, added boiling water, and let it simmer into the most beautiful milky white soup I'd ever seen. I scooped a bowl and took my first sip. Now I finally understood the old saying about soup so fresh, your eyebrows fall off. My vocabulary is limited, so I'll just say, 1 word, fresh. 2 words, insanely fresh. I set everything up in the dining room and waited. Footsteps on the stairs. I looked up. Yanfeng walked down carrying out Yen, and I, broad shoulders. Narrow waist. Long, toned legs wrapped in fitted pants. Cool, aloof expression. Thin lips with a faint smile. Those gorgeous peach blossom eyes half hidden under sinfully long lashes casting shadows on his cheekbones. I looked away so fast I nearly gave myself whiplash. Sinful. Shameful. I was absolutely, irrefutably just here for this man's body. The instant he spotted me, his eyes switched to innocent puppy mode, like flipping a light switch. Andy, he zoomed over, scooped me up with one arm while holding out Yen in the other and bounced me like a toddler. I'd gotten so used to his random hugging that I didn't even flinch anymore. I wrapped my arms around his neck, looked into those crystal-clear eyes, and took back my earlier thought. That pure, dopey sparkle, he was still him. My sweet, simple Yanfeng. Girl. This spirit spring water is something else. Out Yen was bursting with excitement, showing me his back. 3 golden lines had appeared on his shell. These are merit marks. I have merit now. Auntie, my brain feels so much clearer too. Yanfeng set me on the couch, then, without warning, lifted his shirt to reveal those 8 magnificent abs, staring at me expectantly. All my old scars are gone, and I'm way stronger now. Feel. He grabbed my hand and placed it directly on his abs. I had been sneaking a shy little peek, but since he was literally pressing my hand onto his stomach, well, why should I be embarrassed? I raised this body. I fed this body. I had every right to inspect my investment. So I looked, thoroughly, and touched, with confidence.
He.
Out Yen covered his eyes in despair. This shameless girl. What I didn't see was the storm behind Yanfeng's calm expression. The spirit spring water had essentially healed his brain damage. The bullet fragment was still there, but his brain had accepted it as bone, no more harm. He was incredibly lucky to have met me. But a thought crossed his mind. I can walk beside her for now, but soon. The other me will probably disappear. His hand tightened around mine, eyes hiding a tidal wave of emotions. He wasn't ready to let go. Did I hurt you? I pulled my hand back, noticing his grip. Seamless recovery. No, Andy. I'm just hungry, right? Dinner's ready. Let's go. I grabbed out Yen and bounced toward the table. Yanfeng watched my happy, bouncing silhouette and quietly tucked away everything he was feeling. Girl, this yellow-lipped fish is unreal. So tender. Out Yen was in food heaven but still remembered his manners. Hey dummy, get over here and try it. It's incredible. Coming, and just like that, Yanfeng was back to his goofy self, chatting and laughing with Out Yen like nothing was wrong. All he could do was cherish the present. We ate until we were stuffed. Out Yen and I were draped over our chairs, clutching our bellies like beached whales. Zero dignity. Maximum satisfaction. Yanfeng recovered first and stood up to clear the table. I stopped him immediately. Don't. I got this. One mental command, whoosh, dishes, chopsticks, everything vanished. Table, spotless. Like it had never been used. Yanfeng and Out Yen froze, then simultaneously gave me a thumbs up. Amazing, they said in perfect unison. I grinned so wide my teeth disappeared. Oh please, that's just basic operations. Haha, girl I want durian. Andy me too, I nodded. That's what was missing, dessert fruit. How could I forget the post-meal fruit course? Amateur hour over here. We each demolished an entire durian. One whole durian per person and clam. After achieving maximum fruit satisfaction, I shooed Yanfeng and Outyan off to the orchard in my pocket dimension. The trees were bursting with fruit again. Let them enjoy the harvest vibes while I enjoyed the peace. My life. Tranquil, cozy, perfect. The commune police station. On fire. Again. Jiang Qinggong and Mao Qianhan had just wrapped up the Wu Xiaohua case when surprise. 7 underwater spy devices landed on their doorstep. Mao Qianhan took one look at the situation, said, "This is above my pay grade," and called his old boss directly. Emergency meeting upstairs. Within an hour, they had a plan. They couldn't risk moving the devices in case they had self-destruct mechanisms, so they called in bomb disposal experts. Those guys arrived a day later, suited up in full blast gear, and approached the devices with the kind of caution you'd use to defuse a nuclear warhead. Everyone on site was holding their breath. Literally. They were afraid even a sneeze might trigger an explosion. Minutes ticked by. The experts' expressions slowly shifted from, "we might die," to, "wait a second." They looked at each other, nodded, and walked back to the group. Someone already disabled all the explosive systems. They're completely safe. Everyone's jaws hit the floor. Was this divine intervention? How did devices from the deep ocean end up gift-wrapped at their door with the danger already removed? Who is this mystery hero? Show yourself, so we can worship you. That hero was currently eating durian on a heated bed. You're welcome. The code-breaking experts cracked everything within a week.
What they found inside.
Apparently, a major intelligence goldmine. The country launched a whole series of countermeasures. By the time the enemy nations realized their devices had not only been discovered but thoroughly reverse-engineered, it was way too late. Another massive win for the homeland. You're welcome again. Meanwhile, in some shadowy government office.
Crash. Bam.
Smash. People outside the door speed-walked past like their lives depended on it. Nobody wanted to be within earshot when that door opened. "Can you calm down?" Zhao Qiao sat stone-faced, watching Song Ziyong rage like a caged animal. "Calm down." Song Ziyong's eyes were bloodshot, breathing ragged. "Easy for you to say. You've got no family, no sister to worry about. You're standing there pain-free judging me." Zhao Qiao swallowed his retort. He looked at Song Ziyong's state and went quiet. "I thought killing Ji Yanfeng would buy us a few years at least. And now this happens." Song Ziyong scrubbed his face with both hands. "Is Ji Yanfeng actually dead?" "We never found the body." Silence. "I regret everything," Song Ziyong whispered, deflated. "We're too deep now."
Just.
"Hold on a little longer." Zhao Qiao kept his eyes low, thinking, "I regret this even more than you do." Song Ziyong pulled out a cigarette with shaking hands. Tried to strike a match.
Failed.
Failed again. Couldn't even light it. Zhao Qiao sighed, took the matchbox, struck it in one smooth motion. Song Ziyong covered his face and started crying quietly. Zhao Qiao stared at the autumn leaves falling outside the window. One wrong step leads to another and another, until you're drowning in the abyss. Even if they crawled out now, they'd be covered in mud. For men at their level, there was no going back. Only sinking deeper. So that's who was behind Yanfeng's death. Interesting. Very interesting. Back to me, living my absolute best life. Congratulations. 10 billion merit points credited. I was lounging on my toasty warm heated bed, reading novels with Outyan, each of us claiming opposite ends like territorial cats, when that notification dropped. I tried to count the zeros. 1, 2, 3.
7.
Wait, let me start over. 10 billion? My eyes turned into happy little crescent moons. Life was beautiful. Hey, why didn't you just say the number? There are so many zeros, I went cross-eyed. The merit tree glared at me. You're this relaxed already, and I give you one simple counting exercise and you complain. It was absolutely seething. Its other host, some poor soul in a post-apocalyptic dimension, had been grinding for 10 years and just barely hit 100 merit points. 100. That's not even a rounding error on MY account. Meanwhile, I was lying on a heated bed, doing literally nothing, and merit fell from the sky in the billions. The merit tree was so salty it could have preserved fish. I wiggled smugly. This life was probably the result of burning through several lifetimes worth of good luck. Worth it. Yanfeng noticed me spacing out with that goofy grin, the look I get when the merit tree is talking in my head. He was starting to figure out that something was communicating with me internally. But he just looked down and kept reading like he hadn't noticed anything. I had no idea my cover was slowly being blown. Not that I'd care much. What's he gonna do, judge me? Knock, knock, knock. I kicked Yanfeng with my foot. He put down his book and went to answer the door while I speed-hid my novel and out-yen into the pocket dimension. It was Anchin Guixiang, carrying a huge basket of apples. Try these. Local specialty, red Fuji apples. She held them up proudly. I leaned in. Round, smooth, thick waxy skin. Gorgeous fragrance. My nose twitched. These smelled amazing. And these, she dug out some smaller, flatter, greenish-yellow ones from the bottom of the basket. These are little guoguang apples. Unique to our area. Outsiders don't appreciate them. They think you're giving them reject fruit. But people who know, they know. Yanfeng, demonstrating flawless emotional intelligence, grabbed a few of each variety and took them to the kitchen to wash without being asked. Anchin watched him approvingly, then turned to me with a loaded question. So, Youyou, what do you think of Yanfeng? He's great. Obedient, helpful, always knows what needs doing. I blinked innocently. She looked at my completely clueless expression and swallowed whatever matchmaking speech she'd prepared. Never mind. Let fate handle it. These two are getting along fine. Better not jinx it with my big mouth. Outside the door, Yanfeng stood still for a moment, tucking away whatever emotions or question had stirred. He plastered on his trademark dopey smile, pushed aside the door curtain, and walked in with the freshly washed apples. The three of us sat around munching apples and gossiping. Mostly it was Anchin talking, me agreeing enthusiastically, and Yanfeng serving as a silent tea-pouring butler. The hot gossip. New educated youth were being sent to the village in a few days. In the dead of winter, what were they supposed to do here? Just eat our grain supplies? Typical bureaucracy. Nobody up top ever asked the villages what they actually needed. Those new educated youth coming to the village? According to Anchin, most of them couldn't carry a bucket or lift a hoe, more delicate than the village girls. But our village got lucky with decent ones like Jianghua, Zhouhangjun, and Yuanzhu. And the female youth here weren't like other villages where they'd bat their eyelashes at boys to do their work for them. I hadn't really interacted with the educated youth since arriving, so I kept my mouth shut on opinions. All I knew was secondhand gossip. Then Anchin launched into the Sun Qingshan saga. Apparently, ever since the ocean incident, he'd been showing up at his two sons' houses constantly, demanding they pay to raise his daughter. You know, the one. That's not actually his. The sons refused, obviously. What kind of sister is this? So Qingshan started bringing the baby to their houses at mealtimes to mooch food.
Classic.
The sons finally called in reinforcements, their mom and Aunt Chen. Guess what we did? Aunt Chen grinned wickedly. Don't tell me you beat up Wang Chunmiao again. Haha. We beat her face into a pumpkin. Then Qingshan walked in. Aunt Chen was crying with laughter. Wang Chunmiao, sporting her freshly inflated pumpkin face, tried to pout and act cute for Qingshan. He took one look and backed away, shielding his daughter. But Chunmiao was so busy batting her swollen eyelids she didn't watch her feet, tripped, and tackled Qingshan and the baby to the ground. Result: Chunmiao knocked out her front teeth. Said teeth ended up stuck in Qingshan's head like two yellow party horns. The baby got squished and briefly rolled her eyes back before recovering. I pictured Qingshan's metaphorically green head with cartoon sheep running across it, lovingly protecting a daughter that wasn't even his. Tragic comedy at its finest. I couldn't reveal the truth yet, though. The 15th was coming up, and I'd find a chance to tell Uncle's wife afterward. Aunt Chen also mentioned the pigs in Westridge Village. Their illness wasn't as bad as ours had been. Cleared up in days. But without a reliable vet, they were terrified of forced culling, which is why their village chief was panicking. Then she dropped the exciting news. A big barter market was happening at the commune before New Year's. Trade goods for goods. She asked if I wanted to go.
Yes?
Obviously, yes. I sent her home with dried pork jerky and milk tablets, which required the standard 12 rounds of, no I couldn't, / please take it, / absolutely not, / I insist, before she finally accepted. Aunt Chin left satisfied, her gossip tank fully refueled. I wiped imaginary sweat from my forehead and closed the door. Busy little bee, aren't you? A ghostly voice drifted from nowhere. I nearly jumped out of my skin.
Xiao Dan.
Could you please announce yourself before materializing? What? Should I set off firecrackers? Attention! Ghost approaching. Please remain calm. Me. That fair point. Hey! Is it just me, or can your dumb boy over there see me? Xiao Ten sounded genuinely surprised. I turned. Yanfeng was standing at the kitchen doorway, head tilted, staring directly in Xiao Tan's direction. Xiao Tan floated right up to Yanfeng's face and waved his ghostly hand back and forth. Big brother, why are you floating around like that? Yanfeng tilted his head innocently. Dummy, he's a ghost. Outyan had appeared from somewhere, standing by Yanfeng's ankle like a tiny security guard. Outside, the autumn wind rattled through the old tree in the courtyard. Very atmospheric. Very haunted house chic. I had no idea what expression to make. Could Yanfeng see ghosts because of his merit accumulation? Or was it a side effect of the upgraded spirit spring water? Nobody gave me a user manual for this. So there we were. 2 humans, 1 ghost, and 1 clam, sitting cross-legged on the heated bed, staring at each other in total silence. I mentally screamed for the merit tree about 500 times. No response. Probably off in some other dimension with no signal.
Typical.
Never around when you need customer support. Hee hee hee. I broke the awkward silence with the world's most unconvincing laugh. Every pair of eyes and 1 pair of ghost eyes locked onto me. I powered through the introductions with the grace of someone defusing a bomb blindfolded. When Yanfeng heard that Xiao Tan was not only a war hero but also Grandma Zhao's husband, he jumped off the bed. Feet together. Arms straight. Perfect military posture. Right arm snapped up in a crisp salute. Reporting. Captain of the 6th Squadron, Dongshan Province Escort Fleet, Ji Yanfeng. Reporting for duty, SIR. Outyan.
Me. Xiao Dan.
His eyes were crystal clear. Sharp. Focused. Not a trace of the usual dopey golden retriever. 5 seconds later, he toppled backward like a felled tree. I launched myself off the bed and caught him before he hit the floor. Xiao Ten couldn't touch him. No physical form. So, I princess carried this giant man onto the bed by myself. Thank you, Spirit Spring enhanced muscles. Outyan scrambled onto the pillow, staring at Yanfeng's face. What's happening? Yanfeng's expression was twisted in agony, like he was fighting some invisible battle inside his skull. I don't know. Watching him suffer made my chest hurt. Xiao Tan studied him carefully. Just now, his demeanor and speech were completely different from before. It reminds me of post-traumatic stress reactions I saw on the battlefield, but it's more than that. It's like he's 2 separate people. Yes. Exactly. Outyan jumped in. He's been switching between 2 faces for a while. I just thought it was, a guy thing. Like male puberty or something. My crashed brain finally rebooted. Could it be? Dual personalities. Outyan and Xiao Ten stared at me in shock. That actually fit perfectly. So the dummy right now is... Outyan dabbed Yanfeng's sweaty forehead with his tiny handkerchief. I think the 2 personalities are fighting for control of the body. I said it uncertainly, but then I froze.
Wait. No.
I had this backwards. Ji Yanfeng was originally a normal person. He became simple-minded because of brain damage. The sweet, goofy boy I'd been living with, the one who called me Annie and nuzzled my hand, that was the 2nd personality. The one who just saluted Xiao Tan with military precision? That was the original. My little dummy was the abnormal one. And if the brain was healing, 1 personality would eventually have to disappear. And it would almost certainly be him. My heart clenched so tight, I couldn't breathe. I'd always assumed he was temporarily impaired and would eventually recover as the same person. But these were two independent personalities, two separate selves sharing one body. And the math was cruel. Only one could stay. Deep inside Yanfeng's mind, both personalities were struggling. The original, Ji Yanfeng, had seized control during that emotional moment. Saluting a senior officer was pure instinct, but he'd forced his way out while the second personality was at peak strength. Now both of them were destabilized. Somewhere in that internal space, the sweet, silly Yanfeng sat on the ground, hugging his knees, staring at nothing. Yanfeng woke up. It was nighttime. The north wind howled outside, and the cold seemed to cut straight through to his bones. He looked around. Empty room. No one. Outyan gone.
Me gone.
His beautiful eyes dimmed instantly. His fingers clenched the bedsheets, so tight his knuckles went white.
So,
they've abandoned me. A bitter smile. Of course. This happiness was always stolen. Going back to having nothing, wasn't that just how things were supposed to be? But God, he wasn't ready. He hadn't even gotten to show me that he truly loved me.
Not dependency.
Not habit.
Love.
His eyes swirled with suppressed pain and something almost feral. He'd thought he had more time. He always thought he had more time. He'd never had anything that was truly his.
Not even a body.
He was the disease everyone wanted gone. Without me, the real Ji Yanfeng can recover. That's how it should be. I think it's time for me to disappear. Wait. Maybe they just went out for something. The original Yanfeng, the first personality, was sweating bullets inside their shared headspace. He couldn't hold control of the body for long yet, and he was panicking. This was his fault. He'd gotten too excited earlier, seizing the body to salute Xiao Tan, and now he could feel the second personality, sweet, silly Yanfeng, starting to crumble. My little dummy sat by the window, watching snowflakes drift down and melt the instant they touched the ground. His brief life was exactly like that, wasn't it? Someone witnessed his existence, but in the end, he'd vanish without a trace. Just wait. What if you're wrong? What if they really do care about you? If you disappear, they'll be heartbroken, the original personality pleaded desperately. His feelings were complicated. After the injury, it was the second personality who endured all the suffering, the hunger, the cold, the cruelty. The second personality kept this body alive. He owed him everything. But there was only one body. Two souls. How do you split that? And the worst part? Thanks to my constant feeding and care, the second personality's soul had grown stronger than the original. The first personality was jealous. Deeply, bitterly jealous. He'd lost his father at 10. Mother remarried and left. Raised by grandparents until 12, when they died too. The villagers called him cursed, said he'd killed his whole family, and tried to drive him out. The man screaming loudest at the front of that mob? Someone his father had financially supported for years. That's why the original Yanfeng didn't believe in human goodness. Kindness today could become resentment tomorrow. He only trusted himself. Even in the military, he never opened his heart. He was jealous of the silly version of himself, this brainless idiot who had nothing, knew nothing, and yet somehow got loved, cared for, protected. Both personalities were drowning in despair when creak. The door opened. Whoa. Outyan's tiny legs tried to clear the doorframe threshold. Failed spectacularly. He slipped and went rolling across the floor like a fuzzy bowling ball. Yanfeng's body reacted before his brain did. He sprang up and snatched the tumbling clam out of midair. Scared me half to death. Outyan patted his tiny chest, dangling in Yanfeng's grip. Good thing you were here. Good thing you were here. 5 words. That's all it took. Something cracked inside Yanfeng's chest. A wave of emotion slammed into him, so hard his nose burned, his eyes went red, and tears, huge, unstoppable tears, poured down his face. Hey, what's wrong? Outyan flailed, trying to wipe his tears, but Yanfeng crushed him into a hug so tight Outyan's face nearly went inside his own shell. Lucky my shell is reinforced, Outyan thought. That grip strength could have turned me into a dinner entree. But he understood. He wiggled one tiny arm free to pat Yanfeng's back. Couldn't reach. Patted his chest instead. Close enough. It's okay. You're okay. He slipped into his companion's space, found the communication stone, and messaged me. I was in my pocket dimension cooking. The second I got that message, I grabbed the freshly made feast and materialized in front of Yanfeng. One look. I confirmed it was him. My sweet dummy, not the soldier. Oh, come on, you're a big boy. Crying? I kept my voice light even as my own heart was breaking. Andy, he grabbed me with one arm, out Yen in the other, and buried his face in my neck. I thought you didn't want me anymore. Never. We are family. Always. I hugged him back, eyes stinging something fierce. While he'd been passed out, I'd been losing my mind with worry. And when Xiao Tan left, taking the communication stone I'd given him, he paused at the door and said with profound meaning, "You're done for, kid. You've fallen in love." Being called out like that? By a ghost? I wanted to dig a hole and bury myself. I was a monster. A villain. Catching feelings for a mentally impaired boy who only depended on me like a child depends on a parent? But the truth was undeniable. Somewhere in all those days of cooking, bickering, ocean adventures, and forehead pats, I'd fallen for him. And he
just needed me.
That's all. Let's eat first, okay? I made a whole table. I pushed his giant head off my neck and gestured behind me. Braised jumbo shrimp, chive-fried sea worms, candied sweet potato strings, cabbage tofu with glass noodles, jiaodong 3 delicacy soup, a massive pot of rice, 10 big steamed buns, and iced oriental tea from the discount app to cut the grease. Auntie, he hesitated, eyes darting everywhere except my face. Terrified I'd hate him after learning the truth. I like Yanfeng the most, I said firmly. No matter who you are or what you are, his eyes burned with the effort of holding back tears. He grabbed his chopsticks, scooped a mountain of rice, and shoved it into his mouth. The steam from the hot rice gave him the excuse. It's just the steam making my eyes water. That's all. Out Yen and I exchanged a look. Out Yen placed a big piece of chive-fried sea worm in Yanfeng's bowl. This is amazing. Arya and Little Tiger brought it for you. Try it. I added a piece of candied sweet potato. I learned this from Aunt Chen. Tell me what you think. We both stared at him with bright, expectant eyes. Yanfeng blinked. His long lashes trembled like butterfly wings as he fought back tears. He picked up the bowl and shoveled everything, sea worm, sweet potato, rice, into his mouth at once. Cheeks packed to maximum capacity, as if filling his mouth could somehow fill the emptiness of his short life. The tears fell anyway.
He set down his chopsticks.
And then he told us everything. Both personalities. The soldier who'd been shot. The sweet dummy born from brain damage. The internal struggle for control.
The fear.
The jealousy. The gratitude. All of it. At one point, the original Yanfeng surfaced briefly, controlled, composed, military sharp, before retreating again. When it was over, my Yanfeng looked calm. Peaceful, even, like a weight had been lifted. When he's fully healed, I'll disappear. I won't take what isn't mine. Absolutely not. Out Yen launched himself into Yanfeng's arms, crying so hard that tiny pearl tears scattered across the floor, like dropped jewelry. I won't allow it. Yanfeng woke up. It was nighttime. The north wind howled outside, and the cold seemed to cut straight through to his bones. He looked around. Empty room. No one. Out Yen gone.
Me gone.
His beautiful eyes dimmed instantly. His fingers clenched the bedsheets so tight his knuckles went white.
So,
they've abandoned me. A bitter smile. Of course. This happiness was always stolen. Going back to having nothing, wasn't that just how things were supposed to be?
But God, he wasn't ready.
He hadn't even gotten to show me that he truly loved me.
Not dependency.
Not habit.
Love.
His eyes swirled with suppressed pain and something almost feral. He'd thought he had more time.
He always thought he had more time.
He'd never had anything that was truly his.
Not even a body.
He was the disease everyone wanted gone. Without me, the real Ji Yanfeng can recover. That's how it should be. I think it's time for me to disappear. Wait. Maybe they just went out for something. The original Yanfeng, the first personality, was sweating bullets inside their shared headspace. He couldn't hold control of the body for long yet, and he was panicking. This was his fault. He'd gotten too excited earlier, seizing the body to salute Xiao Tan, and now he could feel the second personality, sweet, silly Yanfeng, starting to crumble. My little dummy sat by the window, watching snowflakes drift down and melt the instant they touched the ground. His brief life was exactly like that, wasn't it? Someone witnessed his existence, but in the end, he'd vanish without a trace. Just wait. What if you're wrong? What if they really do care about you? If you disappear, they'll be heartbroken, the original personality pleaded desperately. His feelings were complicated. After the injury, it was the second personality who endured all the suffering, the hunger, the cold, the cruelty. The second personality kept this body alive. He owed him everything. But there was only one body, two souls. How do you split that? And the worst part? Thanks to my constant feeding and care, the second personality's soul had grown stronger than the original. The first personality was jealous. Deeply, bitterly jealous. He'd lost his father at 10, mother remarried and left, raised by grandparents until 12, when they died too. The villagers called him cursed, said he'd killed his whole family, and tried to drive him out. The man screaming loudest at the front of that mob? Someone his father had financially supported for years. That's why the original Yanfeng didn't believe in human goodness. Kindness today could become resentment tomorrow. He only trusted himself. Even in the military, he never opened his heart. He was jealous of the silly version of himself, this brainless idiot who had nothing, knew nothing, and yet somehow got loved, cared for, protected. Both personalities were drowning in despair when, creak, the door opened. Whoa. Outyen's tiny legs tried to clear the doorframe threshold. Failed spectacularly. He slipped and went rolling across the floor like a fuzzy bowling ball. Yanfeng's body reacted before his brain did. He sprang up and snatched the tumbling clam out of midair. Scared me half to death. Outyen patted his tiny chest, dangling in Yanfeng's grip. Good thing you were here. Good thing you were here. 5 words. That's all it took. Something cracked inside Yanfeng's chest. A wave of emotion slammed into him so hard his nose burned, his eyes went red, and tears, huge, unstoppable tears, poured down his face. Hey, what's wrong? Outyen flailed, trying to wipe his tears, but Yanfeng crushed him into a hug so tight Outyen's face nearly went inside his own shell. Lucky my shell is reinforced, Outyen thought. That grip strength could have turned me into a dinner entree. But he understood. He wiggled one tiny arm free to pat Yanfeng's back. Couldn't reach. Patted his chest instead. Close enough. It's okay. You're okay. He slipped into his companion's space, found the communication stone, and messaged me. I was in my pocket dimension cooking. The second I got that message, I grabbed the freshly made feast and materialized in front of Yanfeng. One look. I confirmed it was him, my sweet dummy, not the soldier. Oh, come on, you're a big boy. Crying? I kept my voice light even as my own heart was breaking. Andy, he grabbed me with one arm, Outyen in the other, and buried his face in my neck. I thought you didn't want me anymore. Never. We are family. Always. I hugged him back, eyes stinging something fierce. While he'd been passed out, I'd been losing my mind with worry. And when Xiao Tan left, taking the communication stone I'd given him, he'd paused at the door and said with profound meaning, "You're done for, kid. You've fallen in love. Being called out like that? By a ghost?" I wanted to dig a hole and bury myself. I was a monster, a villain, catching feelings for a mentally impaired boy who only depended on me like a child depends on a parent. But the truth was undeniable. Somewhere in all those days of cooking, bickering, ocean adventures, and forehead pats, I'd fallen for him. And he just needed me. That's all. Let's eat first, okay? I made a whole table. I pushed his giant head off my neck and gestured behind me. Braised jumbo shrimp. Chive fried sea worms. candied sweet potato strings, cabbage tofu with glass noodles, jiaodong 3 delicacy soup, a massive pot of rice, 10 big steamed buns, and iced oriental tea from the discount app to cut the grease. Auntie, he hesitated, eyes darting everywhere except my face. Terrified I'd hate him after learning the truth. I like Yanfeng the most, I said firmly. No matter who you are or what you are, his eyes burned with the effort of holding back tears. He grabbed his chopsticks, scooped a mountain of rice, and shoved it into his mouth. The steam from the hot rice gave him the excuse. It's just the steam making my eyes water. That's all. Outyen and I exchanged a look. Outyen placed a big piece of chive-fried seaworm in Yanfeng's bowl. This is amazing. Arya and Little Tiger brought it for you. Try it. I added a piece of candied sweet potato. I learned this from Aunt Chun. Tell me what you think. We both stared at him with bright, expectant eyes. Yanfeng blinked. His long lashes trembled like butterfly wings as he fought back tears. He picked up the bowl and shoveled everything, seaworm, sweet potato, rice, into his mouth at once, cheeks packed to maximum capacity, as if filling his mouth could somehow fill the emptiness of his short life. The tears fell anyway. He set down his chopsticks. And then he told us everything. Both personalities. The soldier who'd been shot. The sweet dummy born from brain damage. The internal struggle for control. The fear. The jealousy. The gratitude. All of it. At one point, the original Yanfeng surfaced briefly, controlled, composed, military sharp, before retreating again. When it was over, my Yanfeng looked calm, peaceful even, like a weight had been lifted. When he's fully healed, I'll disappear. I won't take what isn't mine. Absolutely not. Outyen launched himself into Yanfeng's arms, crying so hard that tiny pearl tears scattered across the floor like dropped jewelry. I won't allow it. My heart was in pieces. A real, living person, someone I'd known since the beginning, could just vanish.
Who could accept that?
The Yanfeng I knew, the one I'd fallen for, was the second personality. My secret crush hadn't even gotten off the launch pad before the mission was aborted. What was I supposed to do? Just watch him fade away? No more, auntie, in that dopey voice. No more being scooped up like a toddler and bounced around by a giant puppy man. No more. I couldn't think about it. The answer at the end of that thought was something I absolutely could not handle. The whole room was drowning in sadness when knock, knock, knock. All three of us, 2 humans, 1 clam, turned toward the sound. But here's the thing. That knocking was on the bedroom door, not the front gate, which I had deadbolted. I walked to the door and heard whimpering. Soft, muffled whimpering. Full body goosebumps. Look, I've met ghosts. I've temporarily been a ghost. But that doesn't mean I want surprise ghost visitors showing up unannounced. Whatever was outside got impatient with my hesitation and started knocking harder, with more dramatic whimpering. I'll get it, auntie. Yanfeng wiped his tears, stood up, and yanked the door open. Collective sigh of relief. Human, what took you so long? Wolf Dad stood there looking deeply offended. He'd trekked through a blizzard to get here, and he couldn't even howl to announce himself because he didn't want to terrify the villagers. I brought you a gift. He kicked something at his feet with his front paw. I looked down. A whole dead deer, just casually lying there on my doorstep. Yanfeng, ever the perfect host, hauled the deer to the kitchen without being asked. Meanwhile, I chatted with Wolf Dad. He was mainly here to remind us about the full moon trip to the mountain. Also, the bad guys hadn't been back lately, and Wolf Mom was recovering well. I gave him a bottle of upgraded spirit spring water, then grabbed 5 chickens, 5 ducks, and 5 geese from my farm. Wolf Dad indicated he could carry all of that no problem. So I threw in a sheep for good measure, legs and mouth tied, strapped to his back like luggage. Wolf Dad nodded approvingly. This human understands gift-giving etiquette. I should visit more often. He vanished into the snowstorm, thoroughly satisfied. I took everyone, Yanfeng, Outyen, and the deer, into the pocket dimension. Way too cold to butcher a deer outside. Yanfeng looked rough.
Pale, exhausted.
Outyin sighed and explained that the emotional roller coaster of the day had drained him physically. Totally normal. He just needed sleep. I tucked him into the guest room bed. He looked up at us with tired eyes. You two go do your thing. Don't babysit me. We nodded and left. The second the door closed, the smile drained from his eyes. He stared at the ceiling, hollow, thinking thoughts he wouldn't share. I grabbed Outyin and power-walked to the air garden. How did you not notice something was wrong with him? You've been alive for hundreds of years. I was borderline hysterical. Outyin drew himself up proudly. Intelligence is innate. It has nothing to do with age. I facepalmed. But you're with him all day. This massive issue, and you notice nothing. He squinted at me. Oh, you're lecturing me? You're the second person who spends the most time with him, and you didn't notice either. Why should a clam, who isn't even human, catch what a human missed? Me. Outyin. Wait, did I just insult myself? No, the logic checks out. We stared at each other in mutual defeat. I plopped onto the ground. The problem is one body, two souls. Outyin was equally stumped. Even if we had a second body, how would we extract one soul and put it in? The next afternoon, Yanfeng and Outyin were sipping afternoon tea in my heated greenhouse, watching snow fall outside, when Yi Fan materialized. Little sis, check out all the loot I scammed for you. Every head in the room snapped toward him. Wait, they can see me. Yi Fan circled Yanfeng and Outyin with wide-eyed curiosity. I propped my chin on my hand, amused.
Yep, bro.
Both of them can see you now. I gave him the quick explanation. He nodded slowly. No wonder, the merit on these two isn't ordinary. Then his eyes narrowed slightly. And that boy has two souls in one body.
Weird.
Anyway, look what I brought. Pushing aside his thoughts, he dumped a mountain of items onto the table. Every inch was covered.
Yeah, bro.
You're my actual biological brother from another dimension. How did you get this much? My jaw nearly dislocated. Even Outyin, who'd lived through the golden age of cultivation and had seen things, was stunned. Those pill bottles. Even sealed, you could practically smell the medicinal potency radiating off them. And the talismans. And seeds. Yi Fan poured himself tea with the smugness of a conquering general. Feast your eyes. This is the empire your big brother built for you. I threw up a double thumbs up. Incredible. Only Youyou bro could pull this off. No wonder the king of hell himself values you. Flattery. The one armor that has no defense. Yi Fan floated 3 inches off the ground from pure ego inflation, completely forgetting the boot-shaped bruise Gu Yenshin had left on his backside. He started introducing everything one by one. Yanfeng watched me in my element, eyes sparkling, hands grabbing, mouth flattering, and smiled warmly. Outyin stared at me in shock. This girl is even more shameless than me. Impressive. But complaining aside, everyone shut up to hear the inventory. Protection talisman. Wear it, and it blocks one fatal attack. Permanent until used, then turns to ash. Basically, a free life. Lucky boost talisman. Stick it on yourself. Double your luck for 1 hour. Stackable. Stackable. Bad luck talisman. Stick it on your enemy or their stuff. Bad luck multiplied by 20 for 10 hours. Also stackable. The pettiness potential was astronomical. Healing talisman. Hurt somewhere? Slap it on. Headache?
Slap.
Broken bone? Slap. Terminal illness? Slap.
Instant cure.
The ultimate home remedy. Advanced invisibility talisman. Completely hides your body and your presence. Not even martial arts masters or immortals could detect you. 3 hours total per talisman, and if you peel it off early, you can reuse it until the 3 hours are up. My eyes went supernova. This was the perfect tool for, let's call it, tactical resource acquisition. The mountain trip in a few days? These would be perfect. I frantically counted. 22 invisibility talismans total.
Yeah, bro.
You are literally a life-saving rainstorm. My eyes were glued to the talismans like they were made of diamonds. I physically could not look away. My heart was in pieces. A real, living person, someone I'd known since the beginning, could just vanish. Who could accept that? The Yanfeng I knew, the one I'd fallen for, was the second personality. My secret crush hadn't even gotten off the launch pad before the mission was aborted. What was I supposed to do? Just watch him fade away? No more, auntie, in that dopey voice. No more being scooped up like a toddler and bounced around by a giant puppy man. No more. I couldn't think about it. The answer at the end of that thought was something I absolutely could not handle. The whole room was drowning in sadness when knock, knock, knock. All three of us, 2 humans, 1 clan, turned toward the sound. But here's the thing. That knocking was on the bedroom door, not the front gate, which I had deadbolted. I walked to the door and heard whimpering. Soft, muffled whimpering. Full body goosebumps. Look, I've met ghosts. I've temporarily been a ghost. But that doesn't mean I want surprise ghost visitors showing up unannounced. Whatever was outside got impatient with my hesitation and started knocking harder, with more dramatic whimpering. I'll get it, Auntie. Yanfeng wiped his tears, stood up, and yanked the door open. Collective sigh of relief. Human. What took you so long? Wolf Dad stood there looking deeply offended. He trekked through a blizzard to get here, and he couldn't even howl to announce himself because he didn't want to terrify the villagers. I brought you a gift. He kicked something at his feet with his front paw. I looked down. A whole dead deer, just casually lying there on my doorstep. Yanfeng, ever the perfect host, hauled the deer to the kitchen without being asked. Meanwhile, I chatted with Wolf Dad. He was mainly here to remind us about the full moon trip to the mountain. Also, the bad guys hadn't been back lately, and Wolf Mom was recovering well. I gave him a bottle of upgraded spirit spring water, then grabbed 5 chickens, 5 ducks, and 5 geese from my farm. Wolf Dad indicated he could carry all of that no problem. So I threw in a sheep for good measure, legs and mouth tied, strapped his back like luggage. Wolf Dad nodded approvingly. This human understands gift-giving etiquette. I should visit more often. He vanished into the snowstorm, thoroughly satisfied. I took everyone, Yanfeng, Outyen, and the deer, into the pocket dimension. Way too cold to butcher a deer outside. Yanfeng looked rough,
Pale, exhausted.
Outyen sighed and explained that the emotional roller coaster of the day had drained him physically. Totally normal. He just needed sleep. I tucked him into the guest room bed. He looked up at us with tired eyes. You two go do your thing. Don't babysit me. We nodded and left. The second the door closed, the smile drained from his eyes. He stared at the ceiling, hollow, thinking thoughts he wouldn't share. I grabbed Outyen and power-walked to the herb garden. How did you not notice something was wrong with him? You've been alive for hundreds of years. I was borderline hysterical. Outyen drew himself up proudly. Intelligence is innate. It has nothing to do with age. I facepalmed. But you're with him all day. This massive issue, and you noticed nothing. He squinted at me. Oh, you're lecturing me? You're the second person who spends the most time with him, and you didn't notice either. Why should a clam, who isn't even human, catch what a human missed? Me. Outyen. Wait, did I just insult myself? No, the logic checks out. We stared at each other in mutual defeat. I plopped onto the ground. The problem is 1 body, 2 souls. Outyen was equally stumped. Even if we had a second body, how would we extract 1 soul and put it in? The next afternoon, Yanfeng and Outyen were sipping afternoon tea in my heated greenhouse, watching snow fall outside, when Yi Fan materialized. Little sis, check out all the loot I scammed for you. Every head in the room snapped toward him. Wait, they can see me. Yi Fan circled Yanfeng and Outyen with wide-eyed curiosity. I propped my chin on my hand, amused. Yip, yibro. Both of them can see you now. I gave him the quick explanation. He nodded slowly. No wonder. The merit on these 2 isn't ordinary. Then his eyes narrowed slightly. And that boy has 2 souls in 1 body.
Weird.
Anyway, look what I brought. Pushing aside his thoughts, he dumped a mountain of items onto the table. Every inch was covered.
Yebro.
You're my actual biological brother from another dimension. How did you get this much? My jaw nearly dislocated. Even Outyen, who'd lived through the golden age of cultivation and had seen things, was stunned. Those pill bottles. Even sealed, you could practically smell the medicinal potency radiating off them. And the talismans. And seeds? Yi Fan poured himself tea with the smugness of a conquering general. Feast your eyes. This is the empire your big brother built for you. I threw up a double thumbs up. Incredible. Only Youyou bro could pull this off. No wonder the king of hell himself values you. Flattery. The one armor that has no defense. Yi Fan floated 3 inches off the ground from pure ego inflation, completely forgetting the boot-shaped bruise Gu Yenshin had left on his backside. He started introducing everything one by one. Yanfeng watched me in my element, eyes sparkling, hands grabbing, mouth flattering, and smiled warmly. Outyin stared at me in shock. This girl is even more shameless than me. Impressive. But complaining aside, everyone shut up to hear the inventory. Protection talisman. Wear it, and it blocks 1 fatal attack. Permanent until used, then turns to ash. Basically a free life. Lucky boost talisman. Stick it on yourself. Double your luck for 1 hour. Stackable. Stackable. Bad luck talisman. Stick it on your enemy or their stuff. Bad luck multiplied by 20 for 10 hours. Also stackable. The pettiness potential was astronomical. Healing talisman. Hurt somewhere? Slap it on. Headache?
Slap.
Broken bone?
Slap.
Terminal illness? Slap.
Instant cure.
The ultimate home remedy. Advanced invisibility talisman. Completely hides your body and your presence. Not even martial arts masters or immortals could detect you. 3 hours total per talisman, and if you peel it off early, you can reuse it until the 3 hours are up. My eyes went supernova. This was the perfect tool for, let's call it, tactical resource acquisition. The mountain trip in a few days? These would be perfect. I frantically counted. 22 invisibility talismans total.
Yeah, bro.
You are literally a life-saving rainstorm. My eyes were glued to the talismans like they were made of diamonds. I physically could not look away. What? You think I'm your brother for nothing? Yi Fan crossed his legs, blew on his tea, and took the most annoyingly leisurely sip imaginable. There's one more heavy-hitter talisman I haven't shown you yet. He pointed at the last one on the table. Know what this does? Yanfeng, Outyin, and I collectively shook our heads like bobblehead dolls. Yi Fan's grin widened. This is a thunder talisman. Within 100 meters, it flies to whoever you want to zap and hits them with actual lightning. To everyone else, just looks like they got struck by a regular old thunderbolt. Natural causes. Very tragic. Nobody suspects a thing. I handled it with the reverence of someone holding the Holy Grail. My heart was singing entire symphonies. However, Yi Fan's tone shifted serious. You can only have all this because of your merit. Normally, cultivation world items aren't allowed in this dimension. But Heaven's Law is turning a blind eye because of how much good you've done. You're on Heaven's radar now, sis. You're a registered VIP. He looked me dead in the eyes. So use these wisely. Don't bully the weak.
Don't lose your way.
Stay true to yourself, and all this can last. Outside, the blizzard intensified. The pavilion was toasty from 2 heaters, making me feel a little lightheaded, not from the heat, but from the intoxicating feeling of suddenly being powerful. Then Yanfeng, without a word, pulled the curtain aside just a crack. Arctic air blasted me in the face like a slap from reality itself. My floating ego crashed back to earth instantly. I reflected. Since arriving in this novel world, the biggest hardship I'd endured was eating bitter melons, scrambled eggs. Everything I had now, most people couldn't achieve in 10 lifetimes. I had no right to get greedy. Yi Fan noticed my eyes clearing up and nodded approvingly. That's my little sister. Offered the world's biggest temptation, and she stays grounded. He moved on to the pills. 1 bottle of revival pills, 5 inside. Take 1 when critically injured or near death, and your body instantly reverses the damage. These are a personal gift from my friend. Yi Fan scratched his chin. Apparently Gu Yenshin had hesitated before adding this bottle, his fingers lingering on the spirit spring water container like he was lost in thought. Weird guy. Yi Fan couldn't figure him out, so he stopped trying. Then he pointed at a gorgeous box made of white jade ice stone. My friend wants you to try growing the seeds inside. 6 ice crystal blue seeds total. If you can grow them, keep 3 as payment and give him 3. If you can't, no pressure. He's been trying for 600 years with no success. With that, Yi Fan had to bounce. Apparently the king of hell had gotten addicted to watching short dramas and had been crying so much his eyes were swollen shut, leaving zero time for actual underworld administration. So Yi Fan was stuck doing all the work.
Ghost overtime.
After he left, I got 4 storage pouches. 2 revival pills went into 2 separate pouches. 1 for Yanfeng, 1 for Outyen. 1 each. Guard these with your lives. Before they could even respond, I divided up the talismans evenly between them too. Protection, luck, bad luck, healing, invisibility, split 3 ways, most going to them. These are your safety nets. Keep them close. Yanfeng's breath caught. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out for a long time. Outyen was frozen in place, completely stunned. They'd been sitting right there during the presentation. They knew exactly how precious every single item was, beyond money, beyond power, beyond anything obtainable through normal means. And I just gave them most of it.
No hesitación.
Not 1 or 2 pieces, I split the whole stash. Even actual family members might not do this. Yanfeng's eyes, usually like a frozen lake, rippled with something deep and unnamed. Outyen let out one massive wail and burst into tears. Pearl tears scattered across the floor like a broken necklace. Youyou, why are you so good to us? Hello? We're a family of 3. Obviously. I laughed and picked up one of Outyen's tear pearls. Perfectly round, milky white with a gold stripe running through it. Outyen, did your tears get an upgrade too? Quick topic change, if he kept crying, I'd be swimming in enchanted pearls. Outyen puffed up his tiny chest proudly. I'm a merit-blessed medicinal clam now. Every part of me is a treasure. I headed to the pocket dimension to plant Gu Yenshin seeds. My first instinct was to just shove them in dirt and drown them in spirit spring water. Then I remembered my past life. I'd water-cultured plants before. Plan A. Soaked 2 seeds in spirit spring water for 12 hours, then set them up in a hydroponic split box from the discount app. Seeds on the top layer, spirit spring water on the bottom, covered in plastic wrap.
Check daily.
Plan B. Planted 2 seeds directly in the herb garden soil, drenched with spirit spring water. Plan C. Kept 2 seeds in reserve.
Just in case.
Now I wait. Days passed. The snow stopped, but the sky stayed gray and threatening. It was the 13th of the lunar month, so I messaged Xiaotan. Don't forget, tomorrow night. Come find me. He received it while cozily drinking tea by the fireplace with his ghostly wife. Yes, I know. I'm not senile. That girl is going to be insufferably naggy when she's old. I packed supplies for the mountain trip. The upgraded spirit spring water was so potent I could only use 1 drop diluted 100 times. Then I prepared 3 sets of provisions, 10 pounds of white flour, 10 pounds of cornmeal, 10 pounds of rice, 3 wind-dried chickens, 3 wind-dried rabbits, 3 bags of milk powder and milk tablets each. Everything packed, I grabbed Yanfeng and Outyen, and we started the trek up the mountain. The blizzard had stopped, but the accumulated snow was still waist-deep in places. No snowplows in this era. For someone with my tragically short legs, this was torture. Every step sank me in past my knees. I was basically doing squats while hiking. Within minutes, I was drenched in sweat under my coat, panting like I'd run a marathon. I yanked down my scarf and exhaled a cloud of steam. Why did I refuse Yanfeng's offer to carry me?
Pride.
Stupid pride. Auntie, just let me carry you. Yanfeng was barely containing his laughter, watching me flop through the snow like a clumsy rabbit doing parkour.
Badly.